January 10th, meeting of the Conservation Commission. Here taking place in both the municipal center as well as on Zoom, a hybrid meeting. And we want to say for the record that 4 of the 5 commissioners are present. 1 is online, Ariane Barton. And so we have a current full forum available, and all members are attending either virtually or in person. We have a number of items on the agenda, the first of which is a 7 o'clock hearing for continuation hearing for the Zero Maple Gate project. Notice of intent for installation of an electrical line as part of the proposed solar array dash parcel 3 project on the above referenced subject parcel located within the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW. Daniel Serber is the applicant, and representing him is Daniel Wells. Yes, no?
Yeah. Good evening, and
There you are. Oh, okay, thank you, Daniel.
and Greg, you want to take over?
Yeah, I can jump right in.
Okay,
Greg DeBone with Bowler here online. Yeah, this is our second meeting, and really at the outcome of our last meeting, we were discussing the intent to have the BCS provide scope for their peer review. We did receive that this week. I did authorize the document noting that we accept the fee scope, and that we're acknowledging that peer review is going to be beginning. Will probably take us a couple days to get that check in, but we should have the check. I would assume probably early next week to set up for that account. And so at this point, it's really, I think, we're just here tonight to see if the board had any further thoughts about wanting to try to schedule or set up a site walk. We talked about that a little bit last time as well, but knew we wanted to get BSC engaged before getting that set up.
Right, thank you. That's correct. My notes indicate that we did talk about having a sidewalk scheduled, even though it's a fairly small site, to lay eyes on it with those commissioners and with BSC once they were engaged, and now that they have been formally, while the check processes, we I certainly think can schedule a date. Who from BSC is going to come? Do we know? Is it going to be Matt?
Yeah,
I would assume.
yeah.
And
And then I plan to be there.
right. Do we know if Matt has a schedule limitations? Because not much sense in scheduling something. Unfortunately, the snow that we would have impinged our timing for scheduled to do this is mostly washed away. So I think the site, unless we get another big storm, which could cause postponement potentially the sidewalk, since we can't see much to determine things. Forward.
His only big thing right now is WS, so I can put an email between me and you guys and Matt, and I got a confirmation email actually that your check will be in the 19th, so I guess we'll pick a date after that.
I think the 20th is Saturday, isn't it? We'd like to try to do Saturday sidewalk. Generally, the commission members have had, we've got the majority of the commission members available, not every one of them every time, certainly, but over the previous years, that may not be the case. True, I'll do a little straw poll. If we were going to try for the 20th, let's say, assuming the check clears and we don't have a major snowstorm, what's the pleasure of the commission? Does anybody think that they might be able to make the Saturday the 20th? Yes. It's literally going to be a very short sidewalk for that. If we have potentially a need later in the meeting to talk about another sidewalk over by former Pete's Woodward, but that's again in the same vicinity. No, yes, and Steve? Yes. Yes. Okay, Ariane, would you possibly be available this Saturday the 20th?
Healthy.
Assuming you're healthy, you'll be outside, you can stand far away. You'll be healthy by then, we hope.
Yeah, I guess it depends.
Okay, sure, assuming health and that assumption, we can tentatively schedule a sidewalk for 8:30 at the site. Do you have a recommendation, Greg or Dan, for where we might want to pull off? We don't really park on the edge of Maple Street if we can avoid it. That's a pretty tight turn there, and people can whip along there, including logging trucks, which I don't want to have hit my car and anybody else. Is there enough room to pull off, or should we go up to the entrance for the other solar array driveway there? Is that got enough clearance that we can pull in
Yeah,
there?
that could work. There's also the parking lot directly across from our site frontage.
Yeah, I kind of didn't want to impinge on another butter unless we had talked to them ahead of time. Do you have a
Right.
rapport with them?
Yeah. I forget if they even are open on the weekends or not. We could certainly plan on meeting at the secondary access that's by the other solar entry and then kind of reposition cars, or it's a short walk down
Right.
Maple Street to where the area is. So
Okay. All right, so everybody's familiar with what we're talking about, and we'll try to go there. So we'll say 8:30. I'm ready to get to a motion. We'll just plan for that. 8:30 site walk.
Yeah, because I need to check with Matt.
I'll try it.
Is the site currently flagged?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Greg, is the site flagged or Dan?
it's, yeah, everything was reflagged about, what was it, Dan, a couple weeks back.
Yeah, I think it was right before the Christmas break, the survey,
Yeah.
you know, I checked on things and I gave the surveyors a list of flags to be refreshed. So it should be, hopefully everything's good to go.
How close does the current access road that runs through the site from Maple Gate that is going to be used according to the NOI, I believe, to continue to access that site? You know, you're not creating a new road in through this area, you're just getting the electrical feed to and from the street. But the road that, how close does that come to this parcel that we're going to be site walking? It's gonna be.
Yeah, so the existing golf course access is probably about at least 2,000 feet or so further up Maple
Okay.
Street.
Well, man, I'd come up in 1973.
Oh, I was thinking the other
We'll
road.
split the difference.
That's the road.
Okay, the question that in the back of my mind, I was thinking we wanna, if there's any areas that are close to impacting. Close to resource areas that we have jurisdiction over. I had thought to check with you all down the road here, literally, about how you plan on maintaining access on the road in the winter time, specifically any kind of treatment, since you're not going to change the road, and that's what it says, the road will be maintained as is, meaning not repaved or widened or anything. If there's any area within 50 feet, let's say, of a resource area that we in Bellingham that we have jurisdiction over, I'd appreciate you letting Matt know when we do the review and the sidewalk, et cetera. We don't know now, but just so that we're clear that areas that might potentially be treated by the project owners and future owners and so forth, understand that, you know, we don't want them spraying stuff all over the place, for example, or something like that in the winter time to maintain access.
Yeah, no, understood.
Okay, thank you. Anything else about this particular item? Do you guys have any other points you wanted to bring up? Anything new? Nothing new information wise, right?
No, nothing new, nothing's changed. And so yeah, I think just really getting the site walk down, and then having the peer review begin, that will probably just be our next steps.
Okay, give us a second. We're just looking at the schedule
WS, that's it.
and, okay, so.
Mike,
Yeah.
if you can look at, when you're out there, I've noticed that this area down here at the south, I'm not even sure it's part of the same. It's been like clear cut.
That's, you guys don't have, right, we're having the commissioners pointing out here on site here that the aerial view and what he's seen going by on Maple Street there, right as you cross over going north on Maple Street there, on the right-hand side, that immediate property area, is that part of the parcel, part of the project? Not parcel.
But what I can do,
three.
if I have the ability just to share my screen, I'll pull up the aerial real quick and then.
Sure, that would be very helpful. Pam, if you could provide that to Greg, please.
You should be all set.
Excellent. Great, thank you. On screen 2 right here, let me share that. Okay, so this was that, I think the aerial exhibit I had up last time, but the area in yellow is the overall parcel of the golf course. And the piece that we're talking about is primarily down in this corner that
It's the southwesternmost, it's just outside the yellow box, right
so
there.
over here.
That area down there
Sure,
is.
Do we know who owns that? That's not anything.
It's not, no, it's not affiliated with,
Okay,
this ownership or one of the lots that's owned. I can
Right.
find out that information because I have it on the survey file, but it's not one of the parcels that is associated
Yeah,
with
that's why I was,
Okay, if,
Sorry.
if by chance you're able to do that, it'd be helpful, save us trying to leg it around and find out the same thing, but.
Scott Rhodes.
Oh, Scott Rhodes, okay, who's on the other side of another Zero Maple project, isn't he the applicant, former applicant? On the other side of 495 there, that warehouse that they stopped, I thought Scott Rhodes was the name, no, maybe not, okay, you found the name.
But I have a name, so.
Okay, all right, well, we have a name, so you don't have to research that, thank you, appreciate it, Greg. We'll,
Yeah, no problem.
check that out. if
Yeah,
there's-
the only activity that we know that happens out there now is through the New England Power easement, overhead line easement. They do tend to maintain that and do some
Right.
clearing within their easement. You
This
can
is-
see like their gravel path
this isn't the
right
easy.
there in the aerial.
Yeah, this is, I think, outside of that area, it's too far, farther to the
Maybe
left.
give it a glance.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it when we're out there ourselves, the commission members that are able to attend and, see if we can't determine whether it's something recent or it's
And
been.
if I don't even know if it's jurisdictional. so.
And whether it's jurisdictional potentially. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So, we would need to continue this to at least the 24th, if not, beyond. Is there any reason, Greg, that you or Dan or your applicant would like to continue this beyond the 24th? Do they need more time for anything else? How are things going with the planning board? We'd like to close,
Yeah.
in conjunction with the planning board if possible, or close to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, so because we're gonna probably do the walk on the 20th, and then we're gonna really want to give BCS a little bit of time to get their comments together.
Yeah.
I'd be fine moving it to a time where we can wait and receive those comments before coming back. So if that means it moves us to sometime in February, I think that's okay. On the planning board side, unrelated to this south project, we have a separate north project that is actually being kind of finalized tomorrow night. And then once that's complete, we will be continuing to move forward with the planning board process on this southern project as well. So
That north side project, Greg, I know the planning board has been dealing with it for a while, and talked to you about it. We heard some peripheral information a while back, but or at least I had heard some. There's nothing for the current access road that goes from Maple Street, the current entrance to Maplegate. Is that where parcel 2, I think it is?
so there's parcel 1, which is the top of
Parcel
the
1.
golf course.
Yep.
Parcel 2 was referred to as basically a lot that we're, for lack of better terms, dedicating the land for future use of
In
Franklin, but there's no separate, we don't have an access road or anything for that. That's
Right.
just a parcel for them to potentially evaluate in the future.
Okay, so parcel 1 then, that's where the current entrance road to Maplegate is?
That's correct. That's the entrance to the golf course now.
Where it goes across, well, and enters in from Maplegate there is no current resource areas that have been identified that the Conservation Commission would have needed to have been praised about reviewing as part of this parcel 1 project, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Right,
Okay.
right, Dan. I think we did a full assessment of wetlands for that whole project as well. There were wetland areas that were on Franklin that had impact, but nothing of impact over by the entranceway.
Because I know we own, Bellingham is, right along the road there, but it's not too far in, and it is very developed in that area by the golf course entrance, so I just wasn't
That's right.
sure. I thought I'd just touch base. Okay, great. All right, so I'll accept a motion to continue the meeting, the hearing for Zero Maple Street, Maplegate to the evening of Wednesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, for those who love that day.
So
And at time to be confirmed just before, but we'll say 7 o'clock for the purposes of getting some time put on the agenda for now. And by sometime just before the beginning of the week, it will be announced in the agenda what the specific time is.
Second.
All right, thank you, Neil. Thank you, Steve. We'll take a vote. All in favor?
Hi.
Ariane, I.
Thank you, Ariane, and I, opposed. Okay, it's unanimous, and so we will. Who will we be seeing on site there, Greg? You or Dan or somebody with BSC on the 20th at 8:30? If everything goes forward, we get that confirmed with Matt?
Yeah, we'll get it coordinated on our end. John Cusick, who's the project engineer on the project as well. He lives right in Franklin, so he'll probably be likely the one
Okay.
joining for the site walk. So-
Whoever it is, and could we ask that they bring a full-size set of plans of that immediate area, just so that we can be familiar and oriented? sometimes that kind of thing is overlooked and we're standing there looking, we're pretty sure where the flags, which flag is for which, but it's a
Yep.
small, site, it won't be hard to determine anyway, but it's nice to have them if you already know, bring them.
Yep, no, not a problem.
Okay, thank you. Whoever's coming, we'll see them then, 8:30 on the 20th, barring, weather or BSC's needing to reschedule to a different date.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Okay, that's 0. Okay. We have a few minutes before the 7:30 and are we going to see, oh, Chris. Chris is, yeah,
Chris is on.
online. Oh, Sierra. I saw it as one word, it's Sierra. Okay, who else? Do you need anybody else from the, I see Jesse's on. You guys are here, I see that.
Caroline's.
Is Caroline one of the abutters in the area?
She's the Norfolk County.
Oh, that's right, Pat, let's get this.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize last one, okay. Okay, so we have a little bit of time to give in case there's another abutter that might want to walk in, although I see good representation from the area, and so we're getting to the new hearing for the we're calling it 1052 South Main Street drainage and the pond in a minute. Want to touch base and ask the Concom members if you had a chance to look at the November 8th and December 13th minutes. We can maybe knock those off real quickly. If there's any comments or questions and observations, we can pass along to Tina and Hannah to make those final changes and approve them based on that. If anybody has anything. Ariane, do you have any input on either the November 8th or the December 13th? Those are the two remaining minutes that we have not yet approved to get caught up on.
I haven't had a chance to look at them yet.
Okay. Nothing for me, thanks.
Nothing else,
Okay, I only had a couple of typo things, which I'll just mention real quickly, just so, and I'll pass these along to you, Hannah, for you to.
Which one are we talking about?
So the November 8th.
Okay.
Page 2. It's just, on the 12 and 15 Chase Street project, there's a line that says, the denial was made due to the fact that there was lack of information being provided by the applicant, comma, such as lack of funds to allow peer review of the necessary portions which are noted in the denial. Something about that, just as lack of funds didn't strike me as right, but the denial was made due to the lack of information, which was because they were not willing to provide the funding for the peer review. So maybe to say something along that lines is what I was thinking. Does anybody have any thoughts on that suggestions?
we discussed that, some of the phraseology at the last meeting.
Yeah, I don't see a change from this here. Do you want to, do you remember what we might have said? Did we change it at the last meeting?
We didn't change it, we just discussed.
I don't think we had these minutes then.
No,
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
I think in general, we were talking about it, but you're
Correct.
right, yeah.
So there was a lack of information being provided by the applicant, and they were not willing to allow funding, or to provide funding to allow peer review of the necessary portions. I'm trying to modify it slightly, but to mention that they were not approving funding, which they're responsible to do if we want to continue.
I think that works fine. The applicant would not approve funding.
Okay, all right, hang on a second.
It's all going to them now.
Mhm.
And
To allow peer review of the necessary portions. Okay, great, thanks. That helps.
yes, exactly.
I'm now under the open space recreation plan. Ms. Corporate shared a screen to show the open space plan that she's been working on. I thought it'd be helpful to put the 2017, because that's what you were working based on, right? Just
Yeah, I
to
was.
clarify that you hadn't created a whole new plan that somebody, not that anybody's gonna be shocked by it, and it will be all new and revised. That I've sat in them one meeting so far, and well, I think Hannah is doing a great job of moving that along, and the group seems to be very into it, and good representation from the town as well. So looking forward to seeing that continue on. That was it. Oh, one more thing. Third page. This is talking about the 81 Weathersfield Road. This is an area where an abutter has commented, our property owner had commented that their property was seeing some impacts along the wetlands in the backside, just gonna be cutting. The sentence was, the Conservation Commission will be focused on whether there has been intrusions and illegal activity in the wetlands, comma, which the commission would need to know if it's the town easement area or a wet area that has never been claimed by somebody. I thought it would be just good, the word which, to say instead, the Conservation Commission will be focused on whether there has been intrusions and illegal activity in the wetlands. And the commission would need to know if it's town easement area or wet area that's never been claimed by somebody, which when you progressed beyond at this point, but just.
Everything's been claimed by somebody. There's no unclaimed land in this town. In eastern Massachusetts, and actually all of Massachusetts.
Let's go with the world. Okay, so that's all I have for the November 8th minutes. Anybody have anything else? No, okay. Real quickly on the 13th, I think it was just one. Second page, talking about 217 Hartford Ave. There's just, in the first sentence, there was the word with is at the end of the sentence, and the next sentence starts with with. I think that, the first with was just a typo and should be eliminated. Mr. Turner shared a screen. Members present show wetland mitigation area that are currently under, wetland mitigation areas, it should be, I guess, that are currently under discussion, should be period. And then with some guidance from the commission and with Mr. Madden, so I think the first with just goes, and then under the third page, talking about 0 Maple Street, the Maplegate project we just heard. The chairman stated that, here, that the applicant's representatives come back to the next meeting, they will be provided with, I just add the word when. The chairman stated that when the applicant's representatives come back to the next meeting, they will be provided with a peer review cost and so forth. So, and then I hope. One more thing. Right? No, I'll go on, 2 more things. On page 5, the internship, Ms. Crawford has requested to create an internship commission and has drafted a posting that was viewable on the conservation portal. If members are in support of the internship proposal, the request would need to be placed to support the funding of the proposal. I think it's the word a should be put instead of the, so a request would need to be placed if we didn't have one. So that's not. And last page. Wagner farm update. The commission had recently asked the DPW to provide a more formal process with this area, instead of the proposed drainage pipe through the berm and into the lake. We weren't, I think, asking the DPW to provide something other than the drainage pipe. It's just to provide a more formal rather than informal process where you're going through, and if the vice chair was the one that brought up that it should be done more formally. In fact, a drainage pipe is what they're proposing and have been all along at this point in time. They could have changed it if they wanted to, certainly we didn't tell them they couldn't, but I just took out the word instead of and just said more formal process of the proposed drainage pipe. So we're asking to do like there tonight. And the last sentence in that paragraph, the DPW is coming forward with a formal filing and will provide a site plan for the conservation by December 22nd in order to be on the agenda for the January 10th conservation agenda. So I just changed that last agenda to meeting. So and that was it. So if there are no other comments or questions about the December 13th or 8th, I'll accept them as amended, proposed to be amended. Ariana, if you spot something between now and the time that's like a minor typo or something, not some major substance, you want to let Hannah or Tina know, that's fine, but I think that that captures one of the changes, and I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes for the November 8th meeting and the December 13th as amended. So moved. Steve, thank you. Second. Noel, thank you. All in favor?
I
Ariane, aye.
Thank you. And opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, that takes care of that. We still have a couple more minutes. Is there anything that you want to mention?
think he's gonna be pretty brief and he can hang out as long as he wants, but at least we could address him.
Sure.
Oh, I was just wondering if there was anything that you brought up about the town garden at all.
Yeah, so first of all, you're Ben Tucker is what you said?
Yes, yeah.
Ben Tucker,
I'm
and
one of the trustees, I'm on the board of trustees for that group.
For the town common or
No,
town garden?
Town garden on Center Street.
Oh, the center. Okay, gotcha. The community garden. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what in particular were you thinking of?
No,
In fact, actually, could you come up just in case the microphone's up ahead there, in case people online want to
yeah,
hear?
it was just a continuation of the garden. We had, our person in charge of it decided she didn't want to do it anymore, and because the town is gonna take it over, I just wanted to see if any new news about that happening.
Since it's all news to me, I don't know if anybody else in the commission heard anything. I haven't. Nope. It's not really, I think, jurisdictional to us because.
No, I don't think it is.
But I just, Yeah, I would say the Parks
Yeah.
Department and somebody in the town Parks Department would be the first person, since they sound like they would be the department that would take it on. That was news to me. You're saying.
Jesse is here. If Jesse, if there's anything you do want to say in relation
Well,
to that.
Parks/DPW. Jesse, any comment there?
No, this is actually, the first I've heard anything of it. I apologize.
Actually, that's why I showed up there, just wondering if there was anything going on about it.
Not, there may be, but we're not aware of it because it's not.
So far,
it's
not
doesn't
within
pertain to what we
Conservation
do.
Commission or DPW doesn't sound like
Okay,
we've
good.
heard
I'm
about it.
glad I got.
So, yeah, so you might want to,
But I mean, if there is talk, you can tell him to contact me and or Jesse, both of us, and
yeah, if it's jurisdictional, meaning there's wetlands around it, we might have something to do with it. If it's open space,
It's,
because it is town.
I don't
open
think
space,
it's
the Conservation
wetland
Commission
there.
does have some
Yeah.
board in the water with that.
Probably might be more of a select board kind of a.
or that.
yeah, I think it might be more like a land usage thing where they want to make the parking lot for the step trail bigger or something like that.
Right, that could impact
That could
a
be-
variety of staff, departments.
But it's not our,
Yeah, I would,
Yeah.
I would.
nothing in
pursue-
on our table.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jesse, would you be speaking on behalf of the Parks Department too, or is there somebody else that we could perhaps direct you to talk to?
So yeah, as far as the Parks Department, I can speak to that. The DPW does handle, the duty tasks of the parks, but, again, nothing that I'm aware of. I can converse further with, Dennis Frayne on this, but, I feel like I would have some inkling on it.
Yeah,
But
sure.
Yeah, was this Dennis Frayne still in the picture?
He is acting as a consultant of sorts, yes, so he is affiliated with town, he will answer questions that are brought up by residents or town officials and so forth in support capacity until they get a new administrator, I think. So, yeah, I've seen him online in a couple meetings, so yeah, he's around. You could also go to the town clerk's office and just ask them too, and
Yeah.
Larry there should be able to get.
Is
you
that in the
pointed.
DPW building? or-
No, there, it's right
Oh, right
outside
here.
here, last door on the right before you go out there.
Yeah.
Whichever one.
Last window, right? So, yeah, stuff in town hall, and if they don't know, they'll probably point you across the lobby to somebody else and get you,
Okay.
good, good question.
Do one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be, but you're the newsbreaker, so we now
Yeah,
know.
that's actually where we're at right now, because no one wants to take it over.
Oh,
And my wife and I we're both in trustees of it, but we're involved with other stuff too.
Right.
See if it's the public.
right.
Well, it's a nice thing to have in town, and a good asset, I think, to certain people that are able to make use of it or wanting to make use of it, so maybe we can get somebody, you can get somebody from there to step forward, current user of the property, the garden to help out.
All right,
So good luck with that, I appreciate it.
thank you.
Coming tonight. All right, that's close up. 7:30, we'll move along to the next hearing item, which is new hearing, notice of intent for 1052 South Main Street. Construction of a drainage pipe. Sorry, to replace the failing drainage pipe located within the 100-foot buffer zone to the BVW, bordering vegetated wetland. Those that don't like acronyms. Glendon Wegner is the applicant. They are the property owner where the pipe is located. And Chris Syriac is the DPW representative who's presenting the proposal from the DPW for the improvement / replacement of drainage pipe. Chris, welcome. You want to take the lead, give us people a little background on where we are with this and where we've come in the last.
Sure. So, I started with the DPW about 4 years ago, but this has been an issue since I've been there, and I believe probably before I got there. But the Stevens Road drainage area collects a significant amount of water, sends it to a easement pipe to an open trench, and then the open trench goes across the backyards of Stevens Road to the pond on Wegner's property. There's a pipe crossing Wegner's property. It's a small 8-inch PVC pipe. It's undersized. And what we'd like to do is dig out the existing 8-inch PVC pipe, put in a 18-inch PVC pipe. And then in conjunction with working with Carolyn Haviland from Norfolk Mosquito Control, she could clean up the swale in between and hopefully alleviate a lot of the problems that the neighbors have been having with water in their backyards.
Okay, Chris, just so that we're clear, the swale that you're referring to, well, it's on the plans here and on the map, you can see the pipe location right on the pond. The area that is clear and seems to be a path around it is the old horse track, trotting track. The swale you're referring to is the actual wetlands located between the pipe location where there and the properties 302, 301, 300, off of Stephen Road. Is that correct?
Yes, that would be correct. I don't have the mapping with me here, but that sounds correct.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you could, are you able to see online or you on your phone?
I'm on my phone, but
Okay, yeah, it's gonna be tough for you to see things. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't realize that. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to be clear that swale is a wetlands area that is filled with all sorts of down debris, trees, parts of trees, stumps, brush, a lot of brush, which inhibits water flow there. And I think what Carolyn Havlin in the sidewalk a number of months ago now with us back there had identified was an area that with their expertise and equipment, Norfolk County mosquito control has helped out in projects like this before and could provide some assistance in clearing some of that. The water would flow some.
Are we talking here?
No,
Just
just,
here.
well, the cleanup, would-
Where's the swale?
well, I think
I
this,
don't
the
see
word
a
swale to
I
me,
don't see a swale.
it's not, yeah, it's not really shown. If the area between the path, I'm sorry, the cart, horse track and the back of the property, 302, 301, I think that's the area that, Carolyn and, Chris were talking about having consistency cleaning out, because that area is impinging on the water flow from the stormwater pipe that's coming out from Stephen Road, along the property that it comes through.
Where does the pipe come from? Like, where does that pipe start?
Start up on Stephen Road,
Yeah,
the drainage basins by your house.
so right in that area
There was
there,
one that's coming down through your property too, and dead ending in the woods. It looks
so it's
like.
just dead ending there.
Well, they're drainage pipes, they're just going out and just overflowing if they're not that one's not clogged up. We know the one at Bernadette's property there is unclogged because we've seen that, although it backs up. So I think
Today though,
Hey, pardon?
I don't know about today, if it's unplugged.
These
Well,
are
yeah.
today pictures.
This is a picture from today, Hannah's telling me, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Right.
this is the back of Bernadette's property, and this is the area that I think Chris is referring to as a swale, a part of it anyway. Is that,
What is that?
what is that wooden, or that fence and, is that like a compost pile of yours?
Compost pile.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is,
That's
this
our
is,
backyard.
this is their backyard, probably 20 feet into your backyard at least, correct? From where the
Yeah.
wetlands
Oh, yeah.
start and your grass, or over your grass area? Right, and about how deep do you think that is, like 6 inches, foot? Less than a foot.
I mean, it tapers down.
Yeah.
The slope, but
But Mike, all the backyards there now are soaked. I mean.
Right. We got
it's-
4 inches of rain yesterday, so it's in 24 hours. I know, I'm just saying, we know there's been increase. This problem has been exacerbated by the fact there's beaver activity in the area and that the Wagners who own the pond and maintain the dam at the far end and control the water flow out of it have been working with only recently, I think more closely, the DPW on trying to get the boards lowered to allow the outflow to increase and keep the water level down to more manageable, so it drains away. If the pond's too full, doesn't matter what we do up at this end,
Right,
it's not gonna flow out. So it's a combination of various people. It's not just a DPW issue, it's not just a Wagner issue, it's not just, well, can't blame the beavers individually, an animal issue. It's a combination of things and
Excuse me, like that pipe though, with all the water that's coming down from Saddleback, Blackstone Street, South Main Street, that all drains down to those storm drains down in our area, which goes into that pipe. And that pipe is not adequate size for the water to flow through into that pond.
Well, that's the thing. I was going to ask Chris if, while it shows on the map here, only coming basically a couple of houses down. Does in fact that, I was wondering why we would have two pipes going, one front into Don's property, for those on record, and then one to your property, Bernadette. Why we'd have two going out there and not just one, if it's just capturing part of Stephen Road and nothing more. But if it is capturing all those other areas and draining down,
it is.
that's quite a bit of a different picture. We didn't,
And then it goes into the pond, over to the floodgate, which then goes through down behind Douglas Drive.
Right.
And so on,
eventually
you know?
probably down Silver Lake.
And that pipe, you know, being this size when it should be this size, you know.
I have to say, I've noticed that since the Wengers took over that area. There's something that is going on that even from the main road that into that area between my house and that I've showed you before where I had that pine tree taken down. There's like a stream that comes down from that area and fills into that area in between us, and that never was there before, and.
So just so that we're clear, because that's not even on the map
Right.
here, we're talking about that's to the far
You
right
kind
of,
of take care of it all.
yeah, whatever. That may require a different determination of how and what's happening. I know that you've looked into and talked to people, and I've heard you tell me before some of the frustration, your experience with that, and I am sympathetic too, because that things do appear to have changed since they've expanded their operation, put in the increased shed operation and
Yeah.
construction and stuff like that uphill there, up gradient. It probably has changed flow there. The area that you're talking about, Bernadette, just to be clear for the record, that you feel the pipe is too small, is that the 18-inch stormwater pipe that's coming through your property, or just the pipe going through the berm that you're saying is not big enough? In your
Well, it
opinion?
could be a combination of both, but the one going through the berm, right? Yeah.
Let me pause for a second. Chris, I'm sorry, Jesse or Chris, either one. What are your observations or thoughts on the situation with the pipes that come down before they go out into the wetlands areas? Are they adequately sized, and do they in fact capture everything coming down from Saddleback and Blackstone Street as far as up to Stephen Road at least?
So there are a few different outlets along the way, but everything does, as Bernadette said, does just go out into the woods there, and it all does kind of head that way. There's only one pipe going across Wagner's dike at the pond there that I know of, that we found.
Yeah, no, sorry, what I meant to say was the street drainage that's coming from Blackstone Street, Roberta Lane, Saddleback. Does
Yeah,
that
so
only come down to this point, or does it come out? There's a wetlands area, for example, right at the curve of the road of Blackstone and Saddleback. There's a wetlands there. And I know there's a detention basin / wrap and so forth down there. Is that draining out some of the road water from Saddleback, for example, or is it not? It's just all coming down to here.
so there's at least 4 different discharges from there. Saddleback has off of Blackstone, there's a discharge there, so that drainage goes there. Off of Stevens Road, there's 3 separate discharges, but speaking to what Bernadette's saying, it is all going to the same area. There's no conveyance from where it discharges at the other points. It's just water going into the wetlands and heading out towards that area. The only area where there's a direct pipe that I know is that one that we found, and that's where I'd like to up that size of that pipe to at least handle the flow that we have there.
Which pipe?
The one where it says pipe location at the berm, correct? The short.
The one at the
black
berm, the
part.
short.
Okay. So is the 18-inch stormwater pipe that's shown on the plans from Stephen Road that drains down along Burness property, probably down Dunn's property, as well as on Stephen Road itself, is that 18-inch stormwater pipe properly rated size-wise for the amount of stormwater it's collecting from all these areas that we just discussed, all those roads?
I would say that's a much greater discussion than what we're doing here. That would have, I'm sure would have to have it been done to it. I'm sure it was designed for it at the time.
Yeah.
But the design data has changed since then. So
Yeah, well, we have the number of houses along that area, I think, has been static for quite a few years. There's not a lot of new houses in the area or anything like that. I'm just curious as to whether that piping, you happen to know, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, I apologize, whether that in the street there is about the date of the houses. In other words, the number of houses along the street it was designed for, and therefore that hasn't changed. So that probably, even though groundwork might have changed and so on, it's sized properly for that. I mean, 18 inches is pretty good size for a stormwater drain.
Can I ask a
Yes.
question? Jesse, I'm gonna ask you this question. You may or may not have the answer. As I look at this drawing, the area between the berm and the property lines, based on the elevations I'm reading, is lower than the berm. Is that one pipe sufficient to transport the water into the pond? It seems like a natural collection point.
I have. So what was there? That was once a developed stream. I believe Carolyn had cleaned it out once before, where it it conveyed through there, and you know, obviously it's always been wet back there, but not the way it's been recently. I'm going by what I can tell from Bernadette telling me. So the once we get it flowing and get a pipe out there, that's going to make it a lot better than what it was.
So there are a lot of hummocks shown, I think that's what the word is for them in the wetlands area, the 294s, the 296, but there are, when you walk through the area and there's a low area and then you can hop from mound to mound to avoid getting.
What are you
right?
referring to as wetland area?
So I think that what
Is
the
that
area that
something
you're talking about,
showing currently is wetland?
right, it's not green shaded, you mean, right now?
Yeah, it's based on the last DEP.
Right, so
Right.
we haven't had this flag. We haven't had this flag.
Correct. I
We
think,
don't know if we're, yeah.
yeah, but I think Jesse is saying historically, Jesse, from the north side of the pond towards Bernadette and Donna's properties and so forth, Donna's properties, that area of land slash wetland slash water whatever was a much more stream-like environment. It flowed more freely than it has in the last however many years. I mean, that stuff that's piled up there has been there for quite some time. Some of it's just by the age of it and how fallen apart it is and so forth. Is that what you were referring to when you said Carolyn cleaned up that area and was flowing better before?
No, the exact area where where it discharges and runs from the pipe from Bernadette's yard to the pipe we were going.
Oh,
That
just that side. Okay, gotcha.
well was established before, and it was working much better than it is right now. So.
Jesse, can you say it was working or just working better?
Jesse, I'm Chris. Jesse hasn't spoken yet, just so.
Okay, sorry.
Jesse hasn't really even been out there. And he's only been here a couple years longer than me. So the more experience, I've been out there since I started dealing with Bernadette and showing me these issues. So from what happened before Jesse or I were here, so I've been here 4, Jesse about 6. I mean, I can't speak to it, but I can too, from what I've been told from Carolyn and from Bernadette, that at one point in time, there was a working swale there and the water did not back up. I'm sure it backed up, but I don't believe it backed up anywhere near as long as it did now, and anywhere as much as the impact of all the properties as it does now.
Never like that.
Nothing like that.
Never like
That-
that.
Does
Really.
that accurate, Bernadette? I'm trying to go from information that I'm getting that something more happened before I was here.
It hasn't been like this before, no.
We've
And
been there over 30 years.
This
and it
is
never
really
happened.
bad.
in the past 30 years, just so you can hear, Chris, they're saying in the past 30 years, they haven't experienced this level of flooding on a consistent basis, I think.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
never had that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
And
Yeah.
just
where
be-
does this water go?
Bit of deterioration and also a little bit
Where's
of,
it go? Is it going through the pipe into the pond?
Yes.
And where does it go once it leaves? Where does it go?
Outflow is at the far south end of the pond, right near,
It
there's a
feeds
small
down
dam
into
there,
the stream that goes underneath
onto the road and then.
where they
goes
stop,
south
where
of
they
us.
stop the new construction.
Yeah, there's a good aerial shot right here, but, oh, no, that's not it.
I'll show you.
Question for
Thank
the
you.
residents?
Yeah.
Is the current pond level above that short piece of pipe going through the berm?
I'm
Can't tell.
Can't
yeah.
tell because so much water.
Usually the pond is lower. I feel like
The
the pond
pond,
has not been lowered. If,
the pond right now is lower. The
think
pond's,
so?
the pond's not the problem right now, from what I can see.
Okay, so it's not backfilling into your property from the pond? No, it's just,
No, it's from all the
not
drainage from the
discharge.
street.
you know, this would reasonably drain well into here, just through that.
What- if I could just say something real quick,
296.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
just
The berm.
everything that
Berm is high.
flood state right now. So the pond is definitely high. I guarantee the pipe is below water. It always is after that much rain. I haven't been in for 2 weeks and I won't be in for another 2 months, but
Wash
anytime
out in berm, yeah.
that pipe is underwater for a few days, it takes a few days for that pond to catch up, even with the boards lower. That's an
Do we-
excessive water, and it takes a long time for that to catch up. And
Well, I'm
then
sure the pipe is below water. I'm not saying it's not. No, I agree
Do
with
we,
you there.
do we, Chris, do we know whether the Wagners have lowered the dam to the maximum extent possible?
yeah, they dropped it down to the lowest part they had the last couple times I've checked. And it's been the same way. It's we've just been getting a lot of water.
Yeah, and I know they, during growing seasons, need to raise it up because they use it for irrigation, so.
yeah, usually it's not a problem then. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not less of a problem because it's the summertime and that usually isn't when you have
So just to clarify, do we know if they were still down today after this recent storm?
I do not know. I
Okay.
do not.
I think.
Uh,
Yeah, we're talking about the
Uh,
barn of the
yeah,
dam, the outlet where the
yeah.
boards are, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I will pause for a second and see if there's anything else
You know, if you look at this screen,
for the commission
so you can see the out.
want to ask for questions.
The only notation I want to make is not dismissing anything. It's just a reference point relative to the wet year we've had. I've lived in my house nearly 25 years. I'm getting hydraulic action through the garage floor. Coming up between the wall and the floor, and we're vacuuming the garage today. That's never happened.
But
Can I
this
just say
isn't,
something?
isn't just happened this year.
Yeah, it
I mean,
happens-
this, like Chris said, you know, since he's been dealing with like 4 years now.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't just,
Seasonally, though, seasonally, isn't it correct? It's usually in fall, winter that you have the worst issues?
I don't know, we've had the issue in the spring before.
Or is it-
Yeah.
But not
Yeah.
But we've
summertime,
had a lot of rain.
not summertime. What
But
about?
Mike, only for the last 4, and I hate to say it, it's since Wenger took over that farm. We never had a problem before that when Mr. Ozella owned it. And like I said, I've been in my house now. My house, our basement never leaked. We had a finished room down there that my mother lived in for 20 years. Never leaked. Until that man took over, and I'm telling you, there are parts of that drain that have been hit or something, either something's been filled around them or whatever, because I can see the water flow be different than what, it never came down from the main part. And I'm talking even in dry weather. It starts like in, say, October, when it hasn't been raining. There's a water line that comes down from where he built this shed. And you can see it, the stream come down into that area between my house and the house next door. We never had that. We've had water in that area before, but not coming from up there. So, and we tried to explore it one time. My husband and I tried walking back there a couple of years back, because this all started before the pandemic, and I started to have the state look into it, but then the pandemic hit. Because they were gonna have agricultural look into, because nobody seems to be able to go on this man's property. And in the meantime, he is ruining people's property. We've had trees come down. I had 2 trees fall in that area. In the summer, when it wasn't even wet, I was sitting in my back room, and I told you this, 2 trees just fell and one almost hit my house. So there was no wind, there was no nothing for days. I'm afraid now in my house, seeing the trees that are out in that wetland now, what's gonna go next? So you never know, but again, I've been there for 30 years. I've never seen this happen.
Just since they.
Just since the Wengers took over this farm, and they did something, and no one seems to be able to go and make them accountable and take care of the problem that they caused down there. So that's all I can say. I've told you for years, but I know there's nothing, I don't know who. I mean, if conservation can go to agricultural and say, you need to figure out what this man's doing up here that caused all this water to just all of a sudden come down. We've had streams back. And it's only been since he took it over.
You've had streams back there?
Oh, yeah, in the back right before the pandemic hit.
Oh, recently because of the water.
No, and a couple of years ago, and it was back when they had flooding all the way up onto their property into where the animals were on the main road. That whole area where those animals were was totally flooded. It flooded into our backyard. That's the first year. He was on a mission. The Wenger guy was on some mission somewhere. His son was doing it. When we walked back there was streams going down. It wasn't even going into the river. It was going next to the river. So there's something going on up there. So it's not just the water that's coming through pipes and all of this, there's something going on.
Can you get this up?
They just go.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
or it's like as residents, we're feeling like we're helpless to try to figure out to stop this water.
So this is construction. Just-
Mike, we
Is this
just
good
think about the brush and everything back there.
Because trees are falling everywhere.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying.
So I'm pretty sure the property is under 61A, A or B, one of those, which, that's useful.
Yes, because we had to deal with that when they were redoing the path, the animal areas out along, the path out along 120.
Yeah.
Along the stuff.
Which doesn't mean that things can't be fixed, it's another layer to it all.
Yeah. So just so we're clear, I scroll this a little more so we see all the buildings.
North.
Right about there, okay. So your properties, you can see them, you recognize where yours is on there, is that right?
This one is, this is
I
Donna,
know,
right?
kinda.
So this
My
is Donna, I
eyesight's
think this is
terrible.
your house,
Okay.
and Bernadette, that's your house. So where your properties that you're referring to up
Yep.
here, and the development is the expansion of this area here, I think we did a lot of stuff. A lot of that goes downhill this way, but some of it may go down this way. You're saying that there was pipes added in this area down into the wetlands area
I
here?
don't know that there were pipes, but there was water just coming down into the
Flowing
area.
on
Yeah,
the
flowing,
surface, you
yeah,
can
no
see it.
pipes or
Okay.
anything, just,
Okay, so we don't know if drainage was changed up at the top in that area, because it is an uphill direction, but it's possible. Okay, yeah, that certainly wouldn't help the situation.
But doesn't the water flow enter up at Stevens and discharge down at the bottom?
Down here, down here.
Yeah, at the bottom of the pond. Where does it leave the pond?
At the far end down there, I understand. The far, can you scroll all the way down the bottom
yeah,
again?
sorry.
See much.
can I just show you a picture that I took today, or
Yeah.
what I'm trying to explain?
Yeah, well, what part are you showing?
The part of it coming down from the water coming down from.
So
the
from the
top.
uphill area that we're just pointing out.
Yeah,
Is it in the pictures that you submitted today?
No,
I'm
that-
not
No, the
sure they
pictures-
submitted it.
Submitted today where the DPW came down to my, property and took pictures, because I wanted them
Current.
to see, right, current pictures, because you had been down there before, Mike, Jesse, Sean, you all have been down there before and witnessed this.
Yeah.
But those pictures were from the flooding today on our property.
Yeah,
And
it
Mike,
just-
I just wanted to touch, when you were talking about all the brush back there and everything, when he had all those trees cut down back there, you know, there's a lot of stuff that was just left behind there
All the branches are just stripped out
Yeah.
by the machine and left.
and just left there, you know, that's on
In
his.
that area
property,
between
that's
the
not
pond
our
and
property.
back of, just to be clear, in the area between the pond and back of your area.
Right.
Is where you're talking about the clear cutting and not clear, well, more or less clear cutting and stripping of stuff and dropping it, not
Right,
removing it.
right.
Which impedes the flow of the water through there that might be otherwise not backing up onto your property and so forth, which is a valid point. That was my first reaction when I saw it, and it wasn't.
And all those trees gone, that's the
There's a lot of
water
water.
There's tons
needs
of
to
trees that are
feed,
just falling.
you know, so.
What is this?
That's the dam.
That's the far end of the pond.
Does the dam look like that now?
I haven't
It's
been back.
not, it's way far from their
That's
property.
not on our property.
Yeah.
I don't have access to that.
Me and Chris went out.
He'd be able to tell you. He has seen it before.
That's,
Let me ask, Carolyn, can you hear me? Are you still online?
Yes, I am. I hope you
Um,
can hear me.
Yes, we can. Thank you
Hi,
for
Caroline.
participating.
Hello.
I wanted to give you a chance to speak
Spills over.
for a moment, if you would, on what Norfolk County Mosquito Control would recommend doing or can do, has done in the past in similar situations, or maybe even this area that Chris, that you think is.
That's,
Well, what we can do is we're able to work in previously existing and maintained ditches under our exemptions, but we provide notification to DEP and the Concom. Here, we've got a fairly rich history with the area. The open ditches really aren't as visible on what you have up, but I can provide some to the commission and I will do so. And of marking those out of exactly where we've worked in the past and what we can come in and do and just clear that. And we won't dig this major ditch. What we'll do is selectively excavate and move material if needed. Some of it's just brush and debris, just to get that water, have a clear path where it should go through the easement and to that new pipe that will be put in. I do feel that increased size of the pipe will be a huge benefit to this area. But I would recognize that there is a beaver issue that probably could be, if that's properly addressed, will significantly help with the flooding as well.
where are the beaver?
so there used to be a dam at the southern point of it,
Up to the
but
point of what?
the pond,
Near the dam.
yeah, right in front of the dam.
Was it backing up water into the?
By the
into the
time
pond?
me and Chris got there, Wenger had already removed it without permission. So I haven't heard an update if they ended up getting a permit to actually hunt the beaver. But last time I heard the beaver.
So is that causing the water, that beaver dam was causing the water to back up in the pond, which was causing the water to back up outside the
That with
pond?
the boards, yeah.
There's a couple different things going on. That was another
stretch.
impact at one point.
Yeah.
There were also, there has been historically in the last, say, 5 or 10 years, I know because of some of the neighbors on that, and I live on that loop on the far side of Roberta Lane for the record. That some of the other people on Stephen Road to the left of this plan and going up around the curve of it. In the green area that is marked on the plans here on view as wooded swamp, mixed trees and so forth and deciduous. It's wooded swamp. There's been beaver activity. I've seen a dam up for much further up that was active at one point in time, a number of years ago, and the person that had property backing up to that area was having water back up and their doghouse was going underwater periodically, which annoyed the dog who was forced to paddle quite a bit. But anyway, that's that. I don't know if that's still adding to the problem, has been changed, has been removed. I haven't heard about that, but there is beaver activity in the area and it's something that will have to be addressed too. I think we need to focus in the remaining time we have both today and going forward on what we can deal with most quickly and readily, that it looks like a good solution, something positive for both relief of the abutters, but something that we can sign off on our part as Concom, having properly reviewed it. So with that focus in mind, going back to the DPW notice of intent for it, let's focus just on the pipe for now, since everyone's seen, well, so far everyone has seemed to be in agreement that a 8-inch pipe is undersized. An 18-inch would be a much better thing to have just going through the berm in that one location. And Chris or Hannah, do we know if the Wagners have approved of this? Because it is technically on their property.
Yeah, I got a signed permission slip to access the property through there to do the work and a signed permission slip to do the work.
And nothing about, Chris, nothing for going forward in the future to periodically maintain that pipe, in other words, make sure both ends are flowing freely of it through the berm, correct?
I don't have anything in writing, but I have not had an issue with him responding when I have tried to call him.
Okay. Because if we do approve any kind of work here, we obviously want to have it maintainable and a plan in place to do that, not just say, well, put a bigger pipe in, but then 2 months later it gets clogged up with a tree branch and nobody's doing anything about it.
Well, I have not, he's never denied me access to come in and clear the pipe.
Right,
Clearing
I
the
think
pipe is not the issue right now. It's getting everything done and ready to go. I've never been denied access to come in and try to locate access and diagnose issues there.
yeah, this is a unique situation. I mean, I can't think of too many times I've had private property owner impacting another area that involves DPW coming in and potentially maintaining it. Have you?
Should be Winger doing the filings.
Yeah, well, except there's the DPW's having much, may still impact because it is their drain pipes. Those pipes weren't flowing in from Stephen Road. It's not their pipe.
Who's?
Sounds like this is a problem, and these were removed, but they can't be then.
But the work is here
Yes, I know.
on Winger's pipe.
Yes.
On Winger's pipe. Yes.
Yes, technically that pipe probably is. Chris, do you know who put that pipe in originally? Is it the way?
We didn't find any record of saying who had done, but I believe the DPW did it.
Probably just back whenever in the day.
Yeah,
No.
one of those things back in the day that they just did.
Another question for Chris. So
Yes.
for a long time, the pipe size was adequate. Now it's not. Do we know why?
Well, I just in my own experience, and I'm sure yours, just in the last 10 years, you've seen a large increase in the amount of rain we get yearly, correct? I think the water table is higher. I think we get places, if you just drive anywhere, you see places that weren't flooded before that are flooded now. So I think there is a major difference.
Environmental change.
Yeah, I believe so.
So if this. Do we have an engineering study to properly size the pipe? Has it been surveyed? Do we know what the inverts do we know what the inverts?
We have the pitch just with our quick shots. We have not had an engineering survey, but that then is going to turn this into a 10-year project because we're talking major money. And what we're trying to do is eliminate what is kind of a hazard, you know, and get it into a better condition than what it was before.
When you say quick shot, that doesn't sound real reassuring that it's properly.
Well, there's
Designed, not
there's
engineered.
pitch from the discharge in there to the pond.
Right, and with a much larger pipe going in, the pitch may or may not need to be changed. I guess the question from the vice chair.
But that would match existing because otherwise it would, you know, the lowest that the point gets, the pipe is right at the way, if you take your boards away now and we don't have a ton of rain and let the pond settle down to where it goes, the discharge of the existing pipe is right at the top level of the pond.
At the lower, okay, gotcha.
So that's why, and I figured that way I'm not changing anything. I'm just matching existing and what's there.
So, Chris, if the discharge of the existing pipe is at the surface of the pond low water, if the pond raises, it backfills into their property, would only make sense.
At
Yes.
least it doesn't flow out, yeah, right. If not
Yeah,
static,
but
yeah.
if that, so that's when you're gonna have your heavy rains. That's always gonna fluctuate up and down. But at least now it's gonna convey it out. It's not just gonna sit there.
If this was any other situation, we haven't mentioned it. I'm just saying, we have a proper file. If it was anybody else, anybody.
And Chris is trying to do a quick remedy to help the residents.
Correct, correct.
But I'm not objecting to it. It might be the short-term quick fix, but I'm not confident that's gonna solve the problem.
Oh, no, I think it's much more complicated. Obviously, Carolyn has mentioned things that they could do, which would help increase the flow down there. But of course, if you're just adding more water that's flowing into that area and the water table is high, the water level is high, and they've got the boards all the way down the far end, you're still gonna be impacted in your properties. There's no way around that. There's water coming to the lowest point. You guys are at the lowest point, and if the water is just too much, and even if everything's opened up as much as possible, short of removing the pond, which we can't do, that's not a legal thing, so.
Given that something's better than nothing, so this would provide some temporary relief, maybe hopefully. What would be the next step if this doesn't solve the problem?
Well, I think one of the things that was mentioned during one of our walkthroughs early on by Chris, and this is not something that probably would happen in the foreseeable future, but if we eliminated the flow coming out of the pipe on Burndett's property, for example, which is one of the major sources, although Donna seems to be having some problems, a couple over with that other shorter pipe, to potentially back up. If you eliminate that pipe by not removing it, but extending it all the way to, if you could get the pitch, it was all ifs when we discussed this briefly. The long-term solution would be to have that pipe go all the way into the pond. But we may not even have the grade for that. That would be an engineering study, which would be probably 5 figures, I'm guessing, from engineers, they're not cheap, to figure out whether they could even make it the proper pitch, because you can't pitch it above a certain level from the street. And you're starting there and you're going out, and if it hits below the level going through the berm, it finally gets there with a long run with removing trees and digging up everything, getting it the right level of flow, you might be 4 feet underwater, even at the lowest point that the pond can be brought to. So it wouldn't do any good, because the pipe would never drain out. It would always be full of water. So that would be, but if that pipe was not dead ending at the back end of your property, it couldn't add to the flow, and which is causing some of the backup. You would maybe still be getting backup from the uphill flow that's coming from the upper hill, the area Donna mentioned, and her pipe there that dead ends too, that is flowing over and down and around through this wetlands clogged up area, and even clearing out the brush and so forth, if that's what Norfolk County is asked and comes on site to do, might just make it a big wet ponded area instead of a mucky swampy area with lots of brush and trees cut down in. So it may not be a permanent solution even with that. It's a difficult.
Is there any way, Mike, to figure out where, like, what changed to make this water go into that area so bad that it didn't do that before? Is there any way to like backtrack from their property to find out what's causing all that water to build up in there? Do you know what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, but I don't have the answer to that right now. I mean, we can talk to some of the people.
Engineering study.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I mean-
Engineering.
We don't know
study.
where the water coming from. We don't know what the problem is, but we're
Well, no, but
proposing
to
a
take, to
solution.
do the temporary, what we think might help, and then if they're gonna study from there to find out what's causing all that water to go in there in the first place.
Long-term, before the town commits to what would be a very expensive project, just to even extend that one pipe out to the pond, if we had everything working logistically and
Yeah,
engineering wise and so forth. We're talking about a couple of years before the town would even consider probably putting it on a town warrant for a major capital expense. And, let me ask Chris, you or Jesse, does the DPW/town have a resource for an engineer to provide a quote without major impact of cost to get that quote, for what it would take to do an engineering study of this area from up, say, behind Wegner's property, currently in Main Street, down through the Stephen Road property area along Wegner's Pond there, Lakeview Pond? Do we have a resource, an engineer that's qualified to do that kind of work that we've used in the past for that kind of thing elsewhere in town? That we could say, can you give us a price to what it would take to do a real survey of this?
We do have an engineering firm that do that type of work. I'd have to ask Jesse, as far as, asking them for a price without having them charge us. I don't know. Jesse deals with them more than I do.
Okay, I mean, I think that would be the next reasonable step. We can deal with this first step if the board wants to do, the commission wants to do that tonight or down the road if they want to put it off and discuss this some more. I want to move on to the next item on the agenda, but I think that we'll reach out via Hannah, she and I, and maybe we can talk with you and Jesse down the road a little ways the next few days or a week or two, and try to see what the feasibility is of getting an engineering study quote, not to do the study itself, because that would probably be a major expense, but to find out, can you give us a sense of what a study would cost for this scope? And they might be able to give us a budgetary ballpark, and then we can assess it and see what we could do with the town to talk about it. Because I think the long term, that would be the way we would want to deal with it. It is kind of complicated because apparently Wegner's does not own the property in its entirety between
Yeah.
one side here and the back of the abutters along Stephen Road. That's another entity. And that's the major area that Norfolk County would be coming in, for example, and trying to clear up and maybe causing some problems. So that's complicating it too. But back to the, what's the pleasure of the commission?
Sure.
Yes.
Can I ask, do we as a group look at one photograph?
Can
Do you
you
go to page 6, Hannah, of the
What I
photos
did?
you submitted today? What are we looking at here?
The backyard towards the pond.
You're
That's not backyard.
you're standing in Burnett's backyard, looking out towards the pond.
And the
Looking
pond
at
is in the background?
Pond's in the background.
I'm
You
sorry.
see that dark line along the water at the trees?
Yeah.
that's the
right there.
pond.
What is this?
Is that a
That's the
berm?
That's
That's
the
the top
track,
of the
the
berm.
first track / berm.
This is the pond,
It's the
Yes.
pond, yep, above it.
and this is your yard.
Yes.
Right.
Up to a certain point, about the tree line is where your property line ends, or does it go into that trees further? Okay,
Little past that.
right, so
But that water, Neil, no, that's not Neil, I'm sorry.
that's
Steven,
speed.
that goes, all that water in the backyard goes all the way across. That's just one shot there.
And that's just her yard, it comes down to ours.
I'm just trying to get a height reference between the pond and here.
And we'll be able to.
There isn't any. It's flat.
Right.
Yeah, this berm in the dry is probably 6 feet higher than the lowest point of the wetlands when it's dry. Does that make sense?
So the pipe would have to be at the top of the berm at this time. For it to actually cause any water to move.
The outflow would
They're
have to
both
be
the same, they both look to be about the same height, so what's the height?
Oh, a
Well,
little bit longer on that.
And at this point in time, almost nothing will help until they get the pond to drain out.
Unless the pond is here and the wetland is here, the pipe's not gonna do any good.
During heavy floods like this, yes. Other times of the year it would be okay.
If we're like this,
If the outflow is high.
This says even at the low pond level, the discharge is at the top.
Right, correct. So a bigger pipe will allow more water to go in the pond, but only if it's going out the far end just as fast as it comes in. And we don't know if that's gonna ever be the case.
I think we're back to, we need to understand the problem
completely at both ends of the pond.
Yeah, where is all that water? That it didn't used to.
Okay, well, knowing that that's gonna be a major engineering study and that we're starting to that process of finding out how we could get a price for it and what would be involved and so forth with DPW's consultant that, we'll reach out to and try to get some information and proceed with that. What's the pleasure of the commission right now as far as moving or not moving or deferring or further discussing this proposed notice of intent by the DPW just for the 30 feet of increased pipe? Do we want to?
Is it a notice of intent or is it proposed notice?
No.
No, they did a DEP filing.
Yeah, they didn't.
Actually,
Has it been to DEP yet?
that's what I was gonna ask Chris. I just wanna make sure, did you actually send it to DEP or just to me? Cause it was the right form.
I sent the form to you and then you sent us the check that we sent. Paula sent it out. And that was my last day in. I haven't been back since then.
Okay,
So DEP has
DEP
not
doesn't
reviewed
have it yet,
They
so
have
they
not-
haven't gotten to
They have
comment.
not reviewed it. and
Yeah,
Commented.
so
So we can't do anything
I'm-
until we get that.
I will help Chris.
Well,
figure
we
that.
can- we can
don't have
pursue
enough-
getting the DEP, making sure that they get it and have it in their filing to do.
And we would need to get a file.
Yeah, we need just applicants, no, abutters know, to proceed with an approval of a project, we each have a Bellingham wetland protection file number, which we provide
Okay.
internally from the town, that's not a problem. And so when a notice of intent to do a project like the DPW is proposing comes to us, we get that, but we also need to have a Department of Environmental Protection file number, which we don't proceed, we don't give somebody, septic improvement or development in the backside of their property or, whatever they want to do, approvals to go forward with the work until we get that from the DEP. That gives a check by the state checking and make sure that their regulations, which also are in place in town, every town in the state, are being adhered to. We take care of our bylaws and we try to make sure the DEP ones are adhered to once an approval is given, but they may come back and say, we want you to do X, Y, and Z, or try this instead, or something. They can comment on it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but we need to have that happen. That apparently it's not completed happening. Started the process, we have the form filled out. We need to make sure that happens. Chris being out has probably put a damper on that moving forward as quickly as it might, but
So who submits that to that department?
in this case, the DPW, sorry, in town would submit that to the DEP.
Okay.
We will work with the DPW, since they don't do this often, to make sure that that gets moved along, done correctly to the DEP. It'll just add a little bit more time to it, but it's a layer of checks and balances that is required, and we need to make sure is, even for a simple thing like this, is done just to make sure it's done properly, especially if something comes back later from the Wagners or something like that about this. We want to make sure we've done things appropriately, and we're town residents to say, what are you doing up there? You can't go on, come to my property now and do this, and just not
Yeah, to do it
to
right.
undercut your concerns. You have that very valid concerns. So,
How long does that take, Mike, for the approval usually? I mean,
it's the state. We sometimes see fairly quick turnarounds on things like this.
So if they approve it, does that mean that you guys would approve it
It
or?
means that they've
No, they just
reviewed it
accept it.
and
Okay,
accepted,
okay.
and they issue a
Just
number.
curious.
If they have a problem with it, they would let us know.
Okay,
If they don't have a problem, they just issue a number, then we can move forward at our leisure and discretion and whatever pace we want to. If they have a problem, we have to address that, / the DPW would have to address and answer their questions. Maybe Norfolk County would get involved if needed, whoever.
They didn't do a town bylaw filing because it's DPU, correct?
They did. I have books.
I think we
Like
asked
the
them to
paperwork?
do it, even though they are the DPW and it's not on town property, that's
Right,
why.
that's probably, that's what.
So we asked them to
Okay.
do it too. Yeah, okay.
So once you receive that back, then you have to meet again for everyone to approve.
Oh, we would have to
the
sign
report?
off on this for sure, yes. So we are moving forward still, and we haven't stopped completely on this,
Yeah.
but we got a couple of questions answered. Having these plans and so forth is very helpful. We didn't have that, so I want to reassure you that we are moving forward. In the meantime, I'm really hopeful that the Wagners will keep that level down on the pond dam at the other end, because without that relief, it doesn't matter what we do on this end. It's got nowhere to go out the far end, or it's not going out. Chris, can that dam be seen from the road? I know you've been down there a lot more times. I've not been down
No.
to that.
No, you have, it's a good walk from, if you park on South Main Street, by, Easy Street. You can walk up there, there's a path, but it's a good walk. Hannah- Been out there a few times. She knows how to get up there.
Yeah. It's a stroll,
We may want to verify or maybe reach out to the Wagners directly.
if
You
you
have,
want
do you have,
to.
you have, Clint, did you usually deal with the Wagners? Glendon, is that?
Yep, that's who I,
No.
that's who I talked to on the phone, but that's not who Chris and I met in person.
Well, we'll try to reach out to the Wagners and see if, without having to go there, whether we can get verification that the dam is at its lowest level. Removing boards wise, and that they plan to keep it that way for the foreseeable future. Let us know if they start putting things back in, rather than wondering whether it's at, you know, what the status is of it. And if they have a question about why that's the case, then they can just go to the north end of the pond and they'll see why, you know, we have concern. But as we seem to be understanding, they are willing to work with us so far without really any holdbacks, so.
Yeah, no, he's been fine to work with so far.
Okay, all right, so we'll follow up on that. We're gonna
It
be
hasn't cost them any money yet.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
The,
how much it's cost us?
I'm appreciative of that. That's why we definitely aren't, you know, blowing this off, as they would say. We need to move along and I will accept a motion to postpone this. Continue. Continue. Thank you. Continue, not postpone, but by continuing the hearing for this 1052 South Main Street project to
Twenty-fourth is the next one, and then February 14th is.
We won't have a follow-up.
knowing realistically that we don't need anything until we get the DEP number and talking to some engineers / consultants. I'm gonna put this off for one whole meeting cycle to the following meeting, because the DEP, if they got back to us in 2 weeks, we would all drop that big shock, but we're hopeful within two hearings time, we would have some sort of response to DPW on a form, since the paperwork's been done, just needs submitted. So I will look for the meeting of the 14th. I will call it 7 PM. The time will be posted as it is now. Monday, when the agenda is posted online, it's, you can see when it'll be on the hearing, time wise, so you show up around that time. We good, and any other questions about this? Ariane, any discussion before we move to?
Nope.
Okay, so I'll accept a motion to move the meeting, or to continue this hearing to the evening of the 14th of February.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Noel. Second? Second.
Second.
Oh, sorry, Ann, Steve just beat that. Okay, thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Aye. In favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye, Ariane.
Thank you, Ariane, for the record. Okay, so
Yeah, thank you.
14th, and we'll keep working on it and we'll keep you posted.
Anytime you wanna come walk through, you know where we are.
Yes, I know where you are. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jesse, and.
Thanks a lot.
Yep, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're running late. I apologize to the next applicant for 85 Mendon Street. No new hearing, notice of intent for 85 Mendon Street. This is an informational, since we don't have either a DEP number or town DWP number. It's informational for proposed Lucille Steakhouse within the 100-foot buffer zone to a BBW at 85 Mendon Street, and everybody knows where 85 Mendon Street is?
So is it an NOI hearing or is it an informational hearing?
You haven't filed the paperwork with the town?
It's a formal hearing.
Okay, so it's a new hearing, but you don't have either a town, do you have a town number, DEP filing number?
No DEP number
No
yet. I
DEP.
checked today.
But did Hannah?
To your
give you-
point earlier, they've
Yeah.
been taking their sweet time.
Did Hannah give you one for the,
I didn't receive one for the,
but you have the paperwork for the town, notice for the town?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, everything's been duly
Yeah,
filed.
I looked at the forms on the portal and they seem to be.
Both local and DEP, everything's been filed.
All right, so, obviously, we are hearing about this for the first time formally tonight, so you want to introduce yourself? You are, Michael Dryden?
Yep, Mike Dryden, Senior Project Manager with Allen Engineering. Just some housekeeping. I have green cards that I'll hand to
You
you.
hold those,
Yeah, okay.
and if there's a question from one of the abutters, if they didn't get one, then we will ask you to show
Gotcha.
those.
I usually
Right,
turn
so
those in.
don't lose them, but we don't need it now, thank you.
How do you recently conduct your hearings? Via PDF files on the screen? I have a board, I have an easel. What is your preference?
Probably given some of the members who like that.
Okay.
You can
Fair
feel
enough.
free to do both,
Fair
feel
enough.
free to wheel a whiteboard.
Even if it's all electronic, I always bring a board because you never know what's gonna go wrong.
That way people can see more easily. Those members in town who are in the audience here.
You want me to put it over here?
No, why don't you, you know, since you're also gonna be virtually online sharing it, for people to get a close look at the YouTube, why don't you just back it up a little bit over that way? People aren't on the cameras aren't gonna be seeing this. It's more people in the room. Is anybody that wants to see this, that's sitting in the audience here, able to now? Okay.
I'm gonna flip the page several times as well, so I'll just have to be quick in doing so.
That's fine.
I'll start here. Okay. Again, Michael Dryden, Senior Project Manager with Allen Engineering. Should I wait for Hannah to return?
Yes, and she is.
Oh, there she is.
Sorry.
Probably.
So we mentioned the green cards he's holding, Hannah, this is for you,
Oh.
and that he's gonna do a combination of whiteboard or easel over here for people in the room as well as on screen.
I
And
can,
you have the PDFs?
Yeah.
I do have a flash drive if needed.
I have your site plans.
Okay, great.
There's nothing new, Hannah, correct?
No, whatever he originally gave me a bit
Every,
ago.
yeah, nothing new has been submitted.
Thank you.
Let me share.
So why don't you give us a overshot, if you would?
Sure. Is everybody familiar with 85 Mendon Street, the former Pete's Bluebird? It's sort of a landmark, so I assume everybody's familiar with it.
However, I did not realize, having counted hundreds of times over the last 30 years, that it is as big a piece of property as it was. Obviously, most people just see the parking lot in the building and that's it.
Exactly, yeah. It's just about 2 acres, just under 2 acres in size. And it's in the business one zoning district. And one thing I just want to sort of point out and clarify. The base for this map, you see that there's 2 lots in pink. It's mapped what the numbers are, map 49, lot 1 and lot 1A. The site does encompass portions of both of those lots, but we went to the planning board in early 23 and we reconfigured the lot. So the actual lot as it stands today is the bold black line, but since it's not reflected in the current assessor's data, we included both lots as the locus.
pink line is the current assessors.
No, the black is the assessors, yeah, current assessors, the pink is, you're correct. And the black is the actual line, it's been recorded at the registry of deeds, it just,
hasn't caught up.
yeah, it takes some time
Yeah,
to move through the system.
So map 49 lot 1 is not going to be considered as part of this project at all. Is it owned by another entity now?
Yeah, well, it's included as the locus because a portion of it constitutes the locus. So, but it's not, again, it's a little confusing, but if you look at the bold black line, that parcel to the left.
Yeah.
That's the way it stands today. It's not part of the locus. If I made that clear.
My question was, is it owned by a different?
Yes, it's a different owner, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, the owner of that properties was the seller for this piece.
Okay, that explains something. Okay, thank you. All right, thanks for that background.
Hopefully I didn't confuse it. So again, just under 2 acres, the frontage obviously is on Mendon Street, Route 140, which is a DOT jurisdictional road, so we'll be making a filing with them, and this is just some background information for the commission. The access, vehicular access is derived right from Mendon Street in 2 locations. I'm just gonna switch right over to the existing conditions plan, point of scale, that's sheet 3, Hannah. You can see the existing Pete's Bluebird restaurant to the right, the 2 curb cuts I just mentioned. There's a tree line that's to the, if you look to the right, tough to see probably, but there's a portion of the site that's wooded. There's some tall pines in that area. And then, of course, while we're here this evening, the wetlands, if you pan to the top of the page, highlighted on my plan, there is a wetland to the bottom of the slope. There's about a 20-foot slope. And there's a wetland at the bottom. It's a bordering vegetated wetland. It borders on a stream that's much farther to the north. And there are 10 flags that were delineated in the field. Question?
No, we're just commenting on the fact there's a steep drop off at the back of the 50-foot buffer.
Yeah, it's about a 20-foot drop off, and it's roughly a 2-to-1 grade.
20 feet over 50 feet.
Roughly, yeah, it does change a little bit, so, or fluctuates a little bit, I should say.
At the bottom of that slope, how often is what you have is wetland? Is there a vernal pool there or anything?
No vernal pool, no natural heritage mapping whatsoever. No potential or certified vernal pools, no natural heritage mapping. The delineation is very straightforward because it is right at the bottom of a steep slope. So there are 10 flags there in the field. Only 6 of them I included in the paperwork, because the 4 that wrap around the back are sort of no man's land. They don't have any impact whatsoever on the project. So it's really 6 flags that define the buffer zone that is cast onto the project site. The majority of the site is previously disturbed. I mentioned the tree line. There is some historic fill that was placed on the site many, many years ago. So again, the majority of the site is disturbed. There's a meadow. If you pan down, you see the existing parking lot. From the back of that lot to the top of the existing slope is essentially a meadow, a grassed area that's maintained and mowed. As I mentioned, no natural heritage mapping, no other outstanding or sensitive areas such as ORWs, ACEC. There's no flood plain on the site or anything. So we're only talking about bordering vegetated wetland, and in this case, minor impacts to the buffer zone. So unless there are questions, I'll just keep moving quickly to the site plan. Also with sheet was 20, same orientation. That is sheet C5. Yeah, there it is. I don't know what the streaks are, but so the proposed program, obviously the existing building will be raised, and in its place, a 5,000 square foot single story new restaurant building. There is a basement level, a partial basement under this proposed building. It's about 1,150 square feet. And I wanted to talk quickly about parking. And before I do that, just to let you know that we will be before the planning board tomorrow night to introduce this project for the first time. So regarding parking, 138 spaces are required under zoning, and we're proposing 92 spaces. And we're pretty sure that the planning board is on board with that approach. It does require a special permit, but obviously from the commission standpoint, that reduces the impervious, that reduces the amount of stormwater management. And we would assume that that would be a positive thing from the commission's standpoint. So again, 92 spaces. That's about a 33% reduction in parking. And the owner is very confident that 92 spaces is more than enough to satisfy their demand, their peak demand. So again, we're asking the planning board for a special permit. We're confident that they're going to approve that special permit. If they do not, then we will have to revise the plan and add some more parking. The overall disturbance associated with the project is just under 1.5 acres. As I mentioned earlier, the lot itself is 2 acres. So 1.5 of it will be disturbed. And again, much of the lot is previously disturbed. The utilities I want to touch on quickly. Water, power, and gas will be derived directly from Mendon Street, but we are looking at an on-site sewage disposal system. I want to go to sheet C6, I believe it is, or 7. So that rectangular shaded box that you see at the lower right corner of the site, that is the subsurface sewage disposal system. It hasn't been formally designed and submitted to the Board of Health for approval yet. But as you can see, it's far outside of the buffer zone. Even if it has to be expanded slightly, when we finally design it, it won't even be close to the 100-foot buffer zone.
What's the top left line says D?
Oh, that extends into the buffer zone?
This.
Yeah, that's a drain line. Yep. So that's what I was going to touch on next is the drainage system. And I think it's best to probably go to sheet C6 for that. Yeah. We can stay on this one.
What's her? Policy of snow storage.
We're gonna get, that's definitely,
In a buffer zone.
we'll get, yeah, that's something I've noted, so, you know, so I don't want to stop you from presenting at this point. You are going to touch at some point in time and talk about the sewage disposal of the groundwater level.
Yes, we did. We did do test pits, witness test pits, not only for the sewage disposal system, but for the drainage system as well to make sure we can maintain proper offset to groundwater. We really don't have groundwater issues. The highest groundwater we observed is up in the right front where the sewage disposal is proposed. But it's not a shallow condition at all. So there's
You know,
plenty of
there
room.
exists the bottom from groundwater
I'm sorry,
With the groundwater, estimated groundwater level, do you know what the clearance is to the bottom of the septic?
it'll be at least 4 feet as required by Title V. And I think it's actually much more than that. And it's a minimum of 2 feet to the 2 subsurface infiltration systems that are proposed. And I think we have easily more than 4 feet. So groundwater really is not an issue. If you imagine the soils, by the way, the underlying soils are really good gravel. If you imagine the elevation of the wetland 20 feet below, it's sort of consistent of where the groundwater is on the site. So it's not a shallow condition at all. So stormwater management, if you could just pan up a little bit, you'll notice there's a,
Like, this is.
yeah,
the
actually down.
Okay.
However you want to call it.
We're on 6.
I believe so, yep.
Yes, C6. Thank you. So again, the building's in the middle there. You'll see the 2 sort of grid patterns, north and south of the building. The proposed stormwater mitigation is going to be provided via 2 subsurface detention and infiltration systems. We simply just don't have the opportunity to have a traditional open detention basin on this site. We did not want to propose one in the back of the site where you have a relatively steep slope. We wanted to stay away from that, not touch that slope at all. So again, the mitigation will occur in those 2 systems. And the pipe that you asked about in the back, just due to the elevation of where it needs to discharge, that's the only impact into the buffer zone, into the 50-foot. So I can just give you the numbers here. From 0 to 25, there's 0 square feet of impact. From the 25 to the 50-foot buffer zone, there's 380 square feet, and that's just to get that pipe to daylight. And that has a riprap apron associated with it, so we wouldn't have erosion or scouring. And then within the 50 to 100, the outermost part of the buffer zone, we have 6,300 square feet. So in total, the buffer zone impact is 6,680, which is 0.15 acres. So relatively minor impact. And again, full compliance with not only your local stormwater management requirements, which are quite intense, as of course, DEP stormwater management standards. So that's a very quick overview. It is a very straightforward project, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Is that one drainage outfall in the back the only outfall for the entire site?
It is, because those 2 infiltration systems are linked. Anytime you have a subsurface infiltration and detention system, in a severe event, you have to have an overflow mechanism. So in typical storms, you get little or no flow out of that pipe. Only in the larger storm events would you see flow coming out of that pipe.
Like yesterday.
Absolutely. All bets are off when you get 3 or 4 inches of rain in 24 hours.
And the riprap, do you have a detail right now for the discharge pipe for this surface
Yes.
drainage?
The detail sheet, we have a standard detail that addresses the riprap apron.
Yeah, I want to see that. I'd like to see how long that riprap apron actually is.
It's a formula based on the size of the pipe.
Yeah, I'm
So-
less concerned about the size of the pipe than the 2-to-1 slope and the fact that it's going to discharge directly into it. I don't want to be projecting out
Yep.
2 feet of riprap and suddenly everything else is flowing down.
Yeah, it's
You may
more-
not get.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Slope, you may have to address that in a different way than the standard or the, engineered formula if it's gonna be it, but that's just a point of observation. Steve brought up question of snow storage. You have 2 proposed areas on which pipe, C6 or
This
C5?
is still.
It's on the layout plan, which is
C5.
C5, yeah.
So the one in the front corner, and again, I guess assume this is all for a certain height or depth of snowstorm, average piling
Yeah, this rules of thumb is we take the impervious area and
times how big a storm.
I couldn't rifle that formula off the top of my head right now.
But not if, okay, down the road, this will be a question that
Yeah.
either the peer reviewers or somebody ask, I make this one of my concerns or issues of time, like every time. Pretty much any project comes up, especially, and so the front area, is one of them. The only other area, if I'm correct in seeing this, is for snow storage proposed for the site, is the back end of the property, the north end, I guess.
That's correct.
Okay, and if I'm seeing this right, the snow storage is going beyond the 50-foot buffer zone line somewhat, which if I remember from the slope plan on the other, page, is the top of the slope.
Yeah, we set that just essentially so it wouldn't be going down the slope.
Right, so what is on the back side of that snow storage area to keep the snow and miscellaneous unwanted items like, well, in shopping mall would be shopping carts and other things,
Sure,
debris, but just the dirt, the grit, the gravel, the oils that compile on a paved surface where cars are parking and trucks are going and so forth, from going over that and down into the wetland, down that very.
So it's fully vegetated and the woodland itself comes up over that slope. So the grades is,
Do us any good in the winter time.
let me finish, please.
Oh, sorry. I just made sure.
The grades are such that where that narrow strip is, it's not gonna melt and head toward the wetland directly. It's gonna make its way back.
You mean the area is pitched from the snow buffer zone?
There's a
to
shoulder
the parking lot?
essentially there, yeah. So what I'm saying is, and if it's not in entirety, it will be. That snow melt enters the drainage system versus entering directly into the resource area.
Yeah, it's just, we have to flip between two plans. One, we see the snow buffer zone, eventually, I think.
But it's out beyond the curb line, so I'm not sure how that's going to come
What I
out.
can do for you is I can combine the two
Yeah,
and make
that
an
would be very
exhibit for you.
helpful, yeah,
if that would
The
be-
elevations all the way up through into the parking area, the curved elevation lines.
Yeah.
As grading lines, all the way down to the wetlands, and then overlaid on top of that, maybe a different color or hatching pattern or
Piece of cake.
something.
Piece of
Buffer.
Yeah, we're doing this, so.
Physically, just so for your reference, there's the backside of the parking space, those 12 spaces across the backside of the lot that we're referring to by the snow buffer.
Yes,
It's just a typical 4-inch curve there or something?
yes, it's a Cape Cod berm.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh, Cape Cod berm, not even 4-inch berm, okay.
three or 4 inches, depending on how it's molded.
Okay, so my question is, as the snow is plowed and then shoveled and then piled, and then if we have enough snow pushed front end loaded or whatever into a pile up and over that, there's nothing to keep it on the backside from going down again without the contour lines to see it exactly. I'm not sure. There's no physical barrier planned at the backside of the snow storage area currently on this plan that I'm seeing. And I'm asking this for a fence or some sort of
No,
guardrail or something to keep the snow from being pushed over and just piling up and falling down the slope. Untreated.
there's
Okay,
no physical barrier
Okay.
proposed.
that's just a question I'm asking at this point in time, but something we know, right?
I'm sorry.
Good.
So how are you gonna get snow here with a push blade? With these barriers from here over to there?
I'm not a plow driver, but it happens all the time. I mean, we have to have those interiors.
Most likely it'll just get pushed. And you're only 8 feet from the neighbor's lot. So would we put in orders and conditions that it's gonna be picked up?
We can phrase some sort of words, I mean, the order of conditions has referred to snow removal as being, I think that the most I've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, is snow must be contained in the snow, designated snow buffer, snow storage areas, and if it exceeds that in capacity, it needs to be removed off-site and properly disposed of, not.
That would seem reasonable.
That is the kind of thing I've seen so far. How they I've never seen, I think, the methodology put in the order of conditions for a project. Or actually how they get the snow out of the parking lot successfully clearing it, not shoving it as, you get a point, Steve. I mean, that looks to me, and I'm like, okay, how are you gonna do that? You can't. Plows don't.
We're gonna get
No,
calls.
it would be more, they would
From
have,
McLaughlin.
they would have something with a bucket.
That's it.
Exactly, or the plow blade itself articulates, so you can get in there and, I mean, again, I'm not a plow driver,
You have
but
to
this is,
Yeah, right.
this happens at thousands of locations everywhere.
Right,
So
right.
we're not talking about anything unique here. with
Well,
snow.
Given how close you are to the property lines and the
Understood,
backside,
understood.
and the fact that I don't think I've seen too many little islands like that sticking out or curves like, I'm not saying it's unheard of, but you.
It's actually required.
The curve in the.
Yeah, you have to have interior landscaping per the zoning bylaw.
Oh, I thought it was something required so the cars don't back out into each other right at the corner there. I figured why you have that little curve there, but I don't know. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, it's just, it looks a little funky from a plowing point of view, and snow removal is a concern of ours because of the, not so much that we care how clean the parking lot is of snow. It's the stuff that's in the snow and a parking area is not good to get into resource areas. And so we're concerned that we address that. The neighbor's property line, obviously, the neighbor would have potentially some concerns about that if it impacted them, but
I mean, there is a fence there along that right side. A plow driver's not gonna plow snow into somebody's fence, certainly,
Hopefully
so.
not, no, yeah, that's for sure. Okay, all right,
So is the septic and the stormwater chamber stacked?
No. The stormwater is north and south, directly north and south of the building, and the septic is. So that's the grading and drainage plan. If you go to the utility plan, it shows both.
is that C7? No.
There it is.
C7.
This one,
Yeah,
So
C7.
there's three separate areas.
Okay, I see it now.
For your concrete pad in the back for like the trash bins and everything, are you able to put a curb around that? I do see the stormwater does flow towards the catch basin, but it might be good to have an elevated curb.
We could curve it. To your point, it is directed directly into that catch basin, but we could certainly curve it. If that would be the pleasure of the commission.
And does that, no, look at the red page, see if there's a detail on that, but is there, got a fence around it to keep the
Yes.
trash and debris from blowing
does.
over the hill down again?
Yeah.
are you talking about?
Well, yeah, but no,
What I'm
it's only
saying?
into our resource area.
No, but.
Yeah, right there.
Oh, okay.
Passing close.
Yeah, I figured, oh, yeah.
They're-
yeah,
The
yeah.
fence is called out on the layout plan.
Okay.
It's a planning board thing, they'll require that.
Okay. Initial other questions? Thoughts? So we are definitely going to want to, given the slope concerns, not concerns, considerations in the back there and the sensitive wetlands area that none of us probably knew about before we pointed it out. Having seen the field maybe slightly over beyond the parking area that's currently there. We're probably gonna want to do a site walk at some point in time with this, and so I would ask, I know you have the 6 flags there. Do you have the 25 or the 50-foot and or the 50-foot? And or even the 100 marked in any way?
No, but we could easily do that.
Right, we will want at least the 25 and the 50 flags. Does anybody in the commission want to see the 100 or not?
25 and 50
25 and 50 along the backside there. would
Yeah,
be
just,
beam poles.
Flag,
Yeah,
beam
just-
pole, whatever you got.
sure,
no problem.
just so we can.
Yeah.
Visually get a sense.
Especially as the 50 is so close to the top of the slope, that'll be really good to know. And then within that, as you propose it, well, it's good to see on the plan. If we're doing a sidewalk, it'd be great to have just maybe 6 or 8 somehow tape flags, something indicating the area of the snow storage, so we can see, okay, here's the top of the slope, we're standing on it. Here's the area that's gonna be the storage basin versus the 50-foot line, which is good for other purposes to see.
Is there a treatment aspect for the water that enters the chambers? The
Yeah,
stormwater?
they've got these structures marked out.
There's oil and grit. First, you have deep sump and hooded catch basins, which remove sediment. Then you have a secondary treatment in the train,
There you go.
which is oil and grit chambers, and they're sized based on the flow.
Do you have any requirements to treat for salt? Because you're gonna salt the parking lot,
So DEP requires you to treat for total suspended solids.
which salt is often,
Correct.
is not, so.
It's a dissolved salt.
Correct. Upland versus, no, salt, upland versus percentage on the upside of this. Percentage percent that has to be.
No, we're concerned with that 66. That 6,600 square feet of permanent alteration. Inside 100. Not in 100, no.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. Do we have this?
The site is maxed out.
How, just curious, how much bigger is the proposed one-story restaurant to the sales compared to the actual physical building in Peace Woodbridge? It looks
I
like-
think it's roughly twice the
It's
size.
about that.
Yeah,
Yes, twice.
roughly twice the footprint.
You
And again, so the parking requirements in Bellingham are significantly higher than all of the surrounding towns. So as I mentioned previously, that's why we're trying to reduce the impact, reduce the impervious, ask the planning board for a special permit to give us essentially 1/3 less parking. Again, because that's adequate for the facility and it represents less impact, less stormwater management.
The rooftop all is going into the subcatchment, yeah, okay.
It's all tied to the drainage
I
system.
thought it was interesting.
Mike, C6, you can see the shadow of the old building.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I saw off the side, I can see
Yeah.
it looked about, that's what just ballpark guessing.
in the contrast.
Yeah. You want to think we want to see them though? No.
Would this fall under peer review at all?
That's what we're just asking.
Yeah,
That's
we're,
on my list of questions as well.
yeah, just because we want to make sure that the because of the complex drainage system, and infiltration, we,
We'd be reviewing more focused, probably given the limited scope of impact area that we have jurisdiction on. Probably we're gonna be focused more with peer review on the engineering side of things, make sure
Okay.
we don't have the expertise amongst ourselves, I think.
Understood.
To read that, so we probably want to see some BSC review. However, on the wetlands portion, who did the flagging delineation? Do you have that?
Margaret Bacon,
Margaret
PWS.
did it, okay.
She's now, she
Neil
was
knows all the
like
people
civil,
that
she's
did-
now employed by Allen Engineering.
Oh, okay.
She did that delineation before she came on board with us.
went over to the dark side, huh?
The light side.
Working for Mark.
call it.
Well, given that, as you described it, and as it appears on plans, that delineation is going to be pretty evident to almost anybody. That's good to know that it's somebody that we, or at least Neil remembers and is more familiar with.
Yeah, she's very reputable. She's.
Yeah, we've been working.
So I
for
think we
her
would focus more on
for
the
years.
BSC review on the engineering side.
Is that Matt's forte? Or
No,
would
that'd be
it'd be
Dom.
Dom?
So Matt, you
That'd
would
be Dom.
use,
Oh, you'd wanna use Dom,
well, here's where I would defer,
okay.
because I know the planning board is involved in reviewing this too, to Amy. And let her,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we could certainly take, I mean, they're probably gonna wanna look at the drainage.
yeah, but I'm just saying, planning board has moved away from BSC, my understanding is still correct, yeah.
Oh,
For engineering.
oh, I
So-
don't have a preference as long as it's, you know,
Done.
someone who's qualified and looks at it from an
You know,
engineering.
my biggest
Okay.
concern,
Okay.
I think
is
the
that-
I think the wetland, if we fell down the hill, we'd find the
we
wetland.
certainly would.
And, so I don't think the delineation, I don't think this was probably stressed her out too much based on the topology.
I would agree.
Yeah, so,
What was your concern, Mike? I said.
My concern is that the planning board is also gonna want a peer review if they're moving, we don't wanna do
Just, no,
that.
just so you're in town, the planning board and the Concom, when it's a project that are being reviewed by both,
Yeah.
use the same consulting and coordinate that. In fact, we won't approve your project from the Concom until we are sure
Sure.
we have the final set of as is approved plans from the planning board happening at the same time.
Yeah.
We don't want you to go to them after
Of
we get
course.
approval, you tweak something and suddenly we don't have plans of record right
Makes
now. That's
perfect
happened
sense.
occasionally, so.
Yep.
and we piggyback off their engineering
Yes,
because it's
it's usually the second.
not necessarily secondary to us, but it's
Things are being done. in
slightly,
Yeah,
you know,
we have a good relationship with the planning board and
Yeah.
we work with them. I think in this case, well, I'll ask Hannah to reach out to Amy Sutherland from planning board and let her counterpart of planning board and let her have the engineering that we want done for the review of this, which would be done by the same engineer as they would be using for the other planning board concerns.
Oh, so we're not talking about BSC group now.
not necessarily.
Not, when I was thinking
Okay.
the environmental, there's wetlands and so forth, we usually prefer, we on Concom prefer BSC.
Sure.
The engineering side, we're more flexible. In this case, since a lot of the engineering stuff is already gonna be focused on planning board issues. To do the additional things for septic and, you know, the proprietary filtration systems and so forth review, I think it makes a lot of sense to have the same people that planning board is planning on using, so we'll ask them to do that.
And with all because it's all subsurface and you do have all these mechanical structures, we're gonna need a fairly robust O&M plan.
Yep, absolutely.
Streets, you know,
Standard procedure.
Parking lot sweeping,
Yep.
regular cleaning, maintenance, reports filed
We
with
did
us.
give you a draft O&M
Yep.
in the
Yep.
drainage report,
Yep.
and if you have any comments, we're happy to address
So
those.
all that standard, O&M stuff on a complex system like this to keep it functioning.
Were you wanting to do a site visit that same day, the 20th?
I would like to combine, this is the other one I had in mind, this is again, fairly small, selective area.
Yeah.
If certain members of the Concom can't make, would like to put eyes on the site, is there an issue with access with the current property owner to?
There's no issue with access, right?
They just walk in, walk across the back, take a look at the top of the hill and so forth, that they want to see, take a look at the flags.
Are we free at our schedule, or do you want a phone call ahead of time?
No, you can do it on your time. That's
Thank
fine.
you. Thank
Will you actually schedule one as well?
Well, that's what I'm gonna get to.
Okay.
So,
I'm happy to meet you there as well.
yeah, I think that even if we don't have BSC or something along that, just the Concom members and the applicants reps, I think it would be good to lay out on site. If we're already out, those of us that are able to make it, on the 20th, I'd like to do this after that and propose that at approximately 9:15, 9:30 at the latest. I'm being optimistic that would get off the other site in a half an hour or so,
It's Saturday, January.
Saturday the 20th.
But I think as long as we get the
Yes.
25 and the 50 and the snow storage area,
Flag.
staked out, I think that'll be easy.
You can do that
I
between
think
now and
that'll-
20th, yeah?
Easily.
I think that'll be easy enough to review. I don't
Yeah.
think that's,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't think this is a complex,
And any concerns we have about that, we can bring back to the meeting. Again, when we do sidewalk, we'll just observe, we ask some questions for clarification, we aren't going to discuss the project, we aren't going to give any recommendations to tweak this, and we'll say, yeah, nothing like that, we've been asked that kind of thing occasionally. So, but open space, open meeting laws and so forth require that we just observe and, make some notes for the meeting perhaps if we need to. So any members making it on the 20th already, you have an issue with going a little bit longer and, tacking this on, we'll go right over there after, okay. Around 9:15, 9:30. Okay.
in for a penny, in for a pound.
See you on the site there, which is all right in front of Pete's and,
Plenty of parking.
plenty of parking. So we'll plan that. Ariane, you're invited certainly if you're able to make it and feeling up to it.
Yeah, potentially.
Okay, potentially, that's fine. And we have a set of these plans, if you're coming and you want to bring a set, just so we don't forget, we may have lost this, but I may or may not. I certainly want one of these. We got two sets. Hannah, do you have another set or do you want one of these two sets?
I keep one set.
This is the most handy. I like that.
And you gotta have good eyesight with that, huh?
Just in the field, it's much easier. with the
Yes.
Small guys.
I'm gonna give one back to Hannah now.
I just made one.
I know, one little note.
So I'm meeting with the planning board tomorrow and I will, what I'll probably try to do, and I think you're gonna reach out to Amy as well.
Yeah.
I think I need to speak with her on some other matters, so maybe I can kind of close the loop on that too, and just at least tell Amy what your wishes are, so that we can get that peer review in motion as quickly as possible with the planning board.
Was it Peace on Earth and then the Powerball number or the way around that your wishes were?
Huh, what?
He said he wants to let you know your wishes are.
Oh.
I wasn't sure the order, you switched it around once, so Powerball first and then. Peace on Earth.
It threw me too, just so you know.
Yeah.
You make jokes like that at 8:53 at night with me.
Okay, so we will need to continue this hearing. Given that we're doing sidewalk, peer review will take a little bit of time. We don't even have a proposal to you for a cost, et cetera.
Yeah, we're gonna
So-
try to get it as quickly as possible.
I understand that, but given the time, we're certainly not going to probably have them had review and us looked at the information and then be able to discuss it at the next meeting. I think the meeting after that we're looking for. So we'll continue this to the evening of February 14th. Current time posted is 7 o'clock, the exact time of the more closely accurate time will be posted with the agenda on the Monday before the meeting. You can certainly keep posted with Hannah if you have anything come up. And any other discussion on this item? I'll accept a motion to move this, to continue this new hearing for 85 Main Street. Hopefully we will have both the town number posted as well as, so it's the same, just new hearing, as well as the, it'll be continued.
Yeah, they
As
have.
well as the DEP, which you're.
I now call the DEP because the squeaky wheel thing really doesn't work with
Now
that.
that, okay, well, they want to the phone. Okay, to the evening of February 14th. Nicole, that's you, second. Marianne, is that you?
I'll second it.
Okay, Neil, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ariane, aye.
Marianne, thank
Thank
you.
you for your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Mike. Don't forget your plans on the way out. Okay, we are moving along, belatedly, but moving along, discussing again now to the continuing hearing for. We'll move very quickly, for, Blackstone North Street, 12 3-unit townhouse building stormwater system, John Lucian applicant, Ryan Racine, got consulting representative, and Hannah can give you a 5-second update on that, which is.
They're continuing.
Till
To the 14th.
June? No, they're actually, because of the planning board, they, we're going to hear something back from the planning board, but.
Yeah, and I think they're starting to draft a decision. The planning board is.
Oh, yeah, so things have been moving on this project, it's just all of the planning board side, so as one of the things are moving with them, I'm willing to postpone it out.
So they run for the 14th as well.
Yeah, that's what my email said, right? Yeah, Oh, wait, I can just look at what I already. Put. Yes, they asked for the 14th.
Okay. So knowing that that has been requested by the applicant to continue to February 14th, any other discussion about that? Any issues with that? No? Okay, I'll accept motion to move, to continue this continued hearing for Blackstone on Street to the evening of February 14th at a time exact time to be determined, let's say 7 PM for the record for now. So moved. Neil?
Second.
Oh, I will let you get, oh, that was so close, Ariane.
So hard.
We're gonna let you go because there's probably a time lapse, so you gotta get one in there. Okay, Ariane, second, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Ariane.
Thank you, and, opposed, thank you. Okay, so that was accepted, and are you here for anything in particular? No. You're,
Rob Lawson.
Rob, okay.
I'm just
You're-
observing, thank
Mark.
you.
Lakeview Estates parcels C, COC.
Okay, well, we'll jump right to that. Bellingham Estates Shores Extension under other business, sorry, Lakeview Estates, sorry. Parcel C. We have a completion request.
So Mark Ron with Goddard Consulting here on behalf of, make sure I get this up. South Center Realty LLC.
No, this is under all the business. Do we have?
This is
Under
the
it's
bottom.
under the business.
And other, no,
Other business.
other business. It's a public meeting, it's not a public hearing, it's a COC request, so. But,
Yep, it's in our report.
Yeah, okay, I thought I saw that.
so just a quick history, update here of kind of why this order was issued. This order was issued as part of, the Lakeview Estates, development in regards to the rain gardens. And there were certain rain gardens that were replaced or not built. And as compensatory for that, this wetland replication area was proposed and constructed to connect two isolated wetlands inside the Candlelight Lane Loop and Northern Lights Way Loop. And so this replication was built in 2020. Ecotech was part of the construction of that. It was planted with red osier dogwood, high bush blueberry, arrowwood shrubs. Now, we've been monitoring this thing for 3 years now. We have an as-built. The area is 219 square feet, 218 square feet larger than what was proposed. Again, just grading, they did grade it kind of, if you look at the as-built, it is kind of weirdly shaped, mainly because we were preserving trees along the edge of the area. Existing trees, exactly. So part of the grading was kind of part of that. So that was part of Ecotech's work there. So we've been monitoring this for 3 years. We have really dense, the shrub layer is really dense. The shrubs are all about this high or taller. It's really dense. Hannah can attest to walking through it. It's a very dense area. It's honestly denser than here and naturally in the wetlands, which is great to show really good robust stuff. And then you've got the high bush blueberry also providing good wildlife and food sources in there. So we have more than 75% vegetative coverage in there, good hydrology. It's definitely been wet. Creates a nice connection to create a one unique wetland system as a whole. This wetland now basically spills into this wetland here to create a one connected system as a whole. We are continuing to monitor the rain gardens. I did send you this evening the 4th quarter rain garden. I was in the field all day, so that's why I didn't get out as early as I wanted to. But these are being monitored. And one thing that Hannah had mentioned as part of this, because we replaced rain gardens, she asked about the existing rain gardens. So we are monitoring them. There was some landscape dumping that we identified this fall. We're re-notifying all the owners about the rain gardens and what they're supposed to do. And we'll be doing the first quarter inspection to make sure that everything is removed and things are up to speed. So those are ongoing as well. So those are being taken care of.
I got the rough draft today and it looks good. The letter that they're gonna send out.
Yeah. So we are trying to keep up with that. And
Those are part of the ongoing O&M plan.
It is part of the operation. Yep, exactly. Yep. So that's part of there. So we did all those inspections and report there. So, but this is just about the wetland replication basically that was proposed under this order of conditions. So we've done 3 years of monitoring as required, and it meets all the criteria for wetlands.
I noticed in the report that pictures that accompanied it on the portal that the difference between May and November, I think there were 2 reviews of the property in the same year, 2023.
Yep.
And that they've gone from 85% of native wetland species to 90%, so it's moving in the right direction. And I'm interested in that short period of time, you got another 5%.
Well, it's also about coverage of growth of plants like that. So springtime, usually your coverage is a little thinner because your herbaceous hasn't come in all the way fully and all the leaves aren't fully out. So it depends on how early you get in the spring and the fall. So there is usually a change in coverage when you think about leaf canopy. So we try to watch that and see it, but there is definitely really good establishment. I mean, in terms of survivability, this is a really high survival rate planting wise. And again, they're all extremely tall. It's very thick.
Yeah.
In there. It was actually, when we did we were counting, I mean, counting them was hard because there's so many of them. It was just like trying to keep track of which ones you were counting because they just kept going.
Yeah, we wrote there, it was not vegetated. It had been planted, but not vegetated, but it was, that was a good solution.
Are either of the two tied now together with this replication areas, wetlands areas, resource areas, identified in any way with signage around them or something? Because they're in the middle of a fairly large, fairly tight development, and everybody backing up on it, knowing that there's already some rain garden impacts to people dumping stuff. Just, I don't mind them monitoring through it. That's certainly their right to do that. I don't have issue with that, but and I don't think there are ATV issues or anything like that, but just something to indicate to the abutters around there who are the most likely to impact it, that this is not an area to dump stuff in, and your spare tires don't get rolled down the hill.
There is a post and rail fence with the conservation markers behind all the houses. That wraps around, goes around all.
Behind the rain gardens, inside that.
Yeah, basically,
What
yeah.
about the other area down below that, though? That's
Over
what
here?
Yeah.
There isn't anything over here. Yeah, this is just a street. There's a sidewalk here and then there's a sidewalk on the other side. So this would be, you have to park and then walk about, there's a grassy area right along here. You have to walk about 20 feet before you can try to dump anything into the woods. So there isn't anything over there that I'm aware of.
I'm not sure that we need it now, but if we start to see impacts, which wouldn't happen unless somebody continues to monitor it, which means us probably, or some volunteer in town who wants to take walks around town and, check out open spaces and so forth.
Yeah, if there was a concern, I mean, we because we're out there for the quarterly rain garden circuits, if we had the signs, we could at least mount them on on some of the trees, as long as we could get the aluminum nails and we could mount them on any larger trees along here, if that was a concern, but that's something when I access the rain gardens, I walk right here, so I do see this area. This area I don't see as much, unless I'm driving by, so I haven't walked that, but I've never seen any dumpings here. The only thing I saw in this section here, which was removed a year ago, was there was some construction stuff that got left. There's some old rebar, and then I had them pull that out because I saw it and I said, yes, get it out. So that's the only dumpings that I saw here was actually construction related.
Well, when it becomes a concern, it's usually because now something's a problem as opposed to proactively, but I'm open to waiting and just wanted to know in my mind, some of the inner area is posted, which is the more concerned area because that's closer to people's backyards. Okay, that's clear. So you're looking for a certificate of completion, and is this the one looking for the bond to be released? Yeah. The way that was phrased, is that something you got from somewhere else? Because it almost sounds like in favor of the town. It almost sounds like you're giving it to the town to bond. We at this meeting have, I don't know if anybody else noted that on the portal form we're being asked to sign off on tonight, which is to release the bond.
Well, I don't think are we going to sign that until we know that the dumping with the HOA stuff has been solved?
Well, that's a question too, but my question was about the actual way that it was worded. It almost sounded like it's being released to the town.
The language I know is from speaking with the applicant's team and the in-house counsel, she specifically worded it in a way because the bond insurance companies have very strict standards about the wording of things.
That's fine. I'm happy to go along.
That's why they had that. And honestly, again, the bond is tied to the wetland replication itself. The rain gardens and the maintenance of the rain gardens is tied to the subdivision, the homeowners association. It's just the context for why the order was issued and what was proposed was because of the rain gardens. It wasn't about maintaining the rain gardens. And so this order has nothing to do with the O&M for the rain gardens. It's the order is just for the subdivision. That's where the rain garden O&M comes from. That's where the requirements are all tied to there.
Right,
So
there's no bond with the O&M. There's just.
Exactly.
Bond is just to cover the replication.
Right, yeah, right, no, what I'm saying, so if there's an issue with, as I'm saying, the HOA is now
Separate
clearing up,
issue.
we'd have to address it differently.
Correct.
Okay.
So continued breaches of the dumping would fall under an O and M aspect,
Homeowner association, yeah, O&M currently, because there's.
and in which case the bond doesn't apply.
Correct.
Has nothing to do with it.
And I was just questioning because it looked kind of funky, but I was also thinking, and my note says here, check and make sure it's been reviewed by somebody legally drew that up. It wasn't us just.
Yeah, no, I didn't prepare that letter. It was actually provided me by the applicant's
Okay.
counsel.
Properly,
And
you
he
guys-
specifically said, I'm giving you this wording because when we deal with the bonds with these companies, they are extremely picky about the wording and terminology that's used, because otherwise they will not make sure any money goes anywhere, because they have legal requirements, and so they're trying to,
let go
yeah,
of the money.
exactly,
Do
so.
we know, well, off the top of my head, I was just, the other question I was gonna have, not just information, how much was it, you know?
That's a good question. I thought.
Not saying amount, it just
Because
says the
I
bond
think
number.
there was a total, I think the total bond was in the order of like $10,000 to $20,000 originally. And I
15,
believe, yeah,
according to your order
yeah.
conditions.
yeah, and then I think we had a partial remission of it after the plans were installed and everything was going well.
Right.
Because it just, otherwise you're just.
We've done prorated returns
So-
on bonds in the past based on the period of time. Okay, any other questions about this particular request?
Who's verifying that construction areas are well stabilized and maintained and?
Yeah. Hannah's walked the site, you're verified.
Oh, you mean for right now? I thought you meant
Oh,
continuing.
there's
I was like, wait,
statements
what?
made in this letter, have we verified it?
Sorry,
The
say that
release-
again.
the
I'm
release-
just,
The release of the money says that we verified that everything is good. Steve is asking, have somebody actually done that? And that's like, it's gotta be you. I don't know.
yeah, and I've gone on say, but I'm going back to the dumping thing because the only reason I remember bringing it up is because I had highlighted it in the order of conditions. So I just like want to make sure that we're all on the same page about that.
So which condition are you talking about, just to make sure I'm clear, because again, that's what I'm.
Hannah, I'm reading the letter that was in the portal dated December 11th from Turning Point. Is that correct?
Are you,
Bellingham Shores Extension.
that's something else. We haven't brought that up yet.
This is Lakeview Estates. I'm sure is a different.
I think you're talking about, so
31?
in condition, well, in 25, it talks about during a previous site inspection, the commission noted several individual lots.
Yes,
Lawn waste and
thank
dumping
you.
of resources had occurred, all buying parties have been notified, this is illegal activity. Individual homeowners have not removed their responsibility, and the garbage shall remove by hand all previously noted material. And I can tell you that everything that we noted was not like old stuff, it was this year's cuttings of grass. And other landscape dumping, so that condition was at least satisfied as of ours. And we've removed it earlier on this year, we had to go, there was older trash. There was trash that was probably there long ago that I had the applicant go into like here and remove, because it was far enough into the woods that if you didn't poke around, you would have noticed it, but I poke around. So, because I looked in the woods and I saw something that didn't look colored right, and so I walked in and said, look, there's some trash here that's got half under leaves, let's pull it out.
But I think that is paired with 31.
Ongoing
That's a
disturbance
very-
is responsible for lawn care maintenance, disturb placement of materials, residues. Yeah, so there is that, yeah, so there is an overlap. But it's not but the O and M again for the Lakeview Estate subdivision is part of the maintenance of the rain gardens and any dumping around those features. So again, and that's documented in our rain garden inspections, and the applicant is actually working to get it closed out, and the first quarter rain garden inspections will be able to verify that it's done. So,
So did we remit previously 1/3 out of 15? So it's down to 10?
I don't remember off the top of my head what we did.
Do you remember approximately when that was done? A year ago?
It was done about a year, it was done about over a year ago.
So about the 2-year mark issue.
Yeah, I remember it was about that time that we had the conversation with Ann and Cliff. So,
I'm sorry?
well, we had a conversation with Ann and Cliff, because when Ann was.
I have some notes back to April from them about this, that 3 were acceptable, 5 need work. On the rain gardens.
Are we talking about parcel C? Because since I've been here, I've I've looked at a lot of,
He's talking about the rain gardens in specific. So again, the rain gardens, the rain gardens, I mean, this order was only about this parcel, which is only
Right.
these rain gardens. There's other rain gardens. There's 4 rain gardens over here. There's 5 or 6 over
And
here.
they've
There's a
been in a
dozen
lot
back
of
here,
work.
and then there's a whole bunch up on Lover's Way. So there's, I don't know, I forget how many rain gardens there are. I lost count. But there's
In
a,
the overall Lakeview Estates.
and the Lakeview Estates, and that's all under that one subdivision order of conditions, which has that one operation and maintenance plan, which requires the whole maintenance.
And none of those rain gardens are on this lot.
Some of them are, but not all of them are. So that's why it's kind of this, I understand why the condition was put in there, because they wanted to make sure that it got addressed quickly, and everything that's there now was recent stuff. It wasn't there. It's definitely not been there since when this order was issued, which is what those conditions were going after, which was historic dumpings, which are not there now.
I mean, I can agree with that statement. Like what we found was not like old stuff. It was fresh within the year.
Yeah, there's been a history of grass clippings and leaves
Right,
going down to the bottom of the hill.
right.
Yeah, I mean, and Hannah did see, and she saw the letter that we have. I mean, we've previously circulated letters, and we provided her another letter that we're gonna be sending out in the mail tomorrow to remind people that, look, this is a violation of the homeowner association requirements for maintaining these rain gardens. And if you do this, it's gonna be, right, the association is gonna come after you. So you need to stop, otherwise it's gonna start costing you money, because the homeowner association does not want to pay for a homeowner to just do what they want to do when it's part of the homeowner association's responsibility.
Do we have contact information for the homeowners association, the current homeowners association?
So it's currently under the umbrella of South, again, the South Center Realty LLC, which is under Fafford Development.
So they haven't, because they haven't turned the property over to the homeowners of the HOA yet.
Because the town has to accept the roadways first. So the roadway acceptance is expected to happen this year. So that's why I'm slotted to be out there. I've already been instructed that I will be doing the first quarter rain gardens this year for sure. They require me to do that. So I'm gonna be doing that, likely the second quarter as well. Because until the town accepts the roadways, the association hasn't really been set up.
And then the homeowners will elect their own trustees and they will take
And
control.
so if we
of
see an issue with rain gardens down the road, I'm just trying to make sure this is clear for the record. The Concom would have to say, hey, there's a violation, the rain garden's not being maintained. We need to go out to the homeowners association. There won't be an entity that we can do that to.
Correct.
It's not gonna be. The other thing is that I believe that this is something that dates back to when Cliff and Ann were dealing with this, that the concern about the rain gardens, which were in violation, not existing, never put in, whatever, throughout this project, not
Yep.
necessarily this particular location, were and should be a point of information for the planning board and town, zoning board and so forth, before they accept the roads, that the rain garden should be done. So we have the leverage, so to speak, with the developer, the town does, not just the Concom, to get the rain gardens and so forth done, if you want the roads approved, and that if the town is asking, which they have done at least once, I think the DPW has asked, if I remember in an email, is it all set with Concom to have us approve these roads, accept these roads? And our comment back then, again, this is back pre-July, was, no, there's a bunch of rain gardens that are in violation. You shouldn't release, town or accept the town roads. So to Steve's question, I think, and point from his notes back then, the rain gardens, because releasing this is maybe separate, the rain gardens that were in violation back pre-July that you're aware of, none of those are in this area here.
No.
So
No, these were
and the
all,
bond-
yeah,
And the bond, just to be clear, that you're asking to have released
Yeah.
and or strip completion
Yeah.
is just for this, for bridging. Replication.
the bond was only for the construction of the wetland replication area.
Okay. So we may have issues with rain gardens, I think is what we're saying, throughout the rest of the project, which may or may not affect the road approvals / homeowners association being created and fabric, letting them deal with it and going forth, and us make sure that they get maintained to some level as best we can. But I don't think, unless I'm wrong, somebody speak up, that
the bond that they're asking to have released tonight is tied to anything other than the project, which seems to be by the reports.
How many bonds are on this?
I think this is the only bond, correct? I don't know if the town planning board or anybody else has a bond with Bafford and the overall Lake
roads.
Estates.
There may be other bonds, for other parts of the subdivision itself.
There's definitely bonds on the
I'm
roads.
sure there are, but I'm not aware of every bond, but all I know is for this order of conditions, there was just one bond, and that one bond was for the wetland replication to ensure that it could be constructed, planted, and monitored correctly.
How do we verify the language of that,
Of what?
the purpose of the bond?
Order of conditions 22.
Item 22 in the order of conditions or 2022?
No, the number, the first one you said.
Special condition 22.
Yeah,
Is that on the portal?
yes. It's, he attached it with his request, if you scroll down.
Yeah,
Oh. 21 out of 25. So the terms of release is at the end of the 3-year monitoring period in which the commission shall receive yearly monitoring reports, which we've gotten. The commission shall receive in writing a letter certifying the success of the restoration project from the same certified professional identified in condition 20.
Which we have.
Okay, and upon conducting a follow-up inspection verifying compliance to the commission's satisfaction, release the bond.
Which we also have. Correct?
Per visit.
Yeah, but I'm not 100% satisfied according to, I guess that's where I'm
With the
confused.
replication area?
But this is, if this is about parcel C and in it, it also has the thing about the dumping, like I understand what we're saying, but at the end of the day, the order of conditions isn't 100% complete. Right?
So if the bond release does not state it's being released because of satisfaction with only one portion of the order of conditions, your point is it's for the overall order of conditions that's not been satisfied yet.
I thought the rain gardens were all on the individual lots and were not on this parcel.
So I guess you are in part correct. There is a separate parcel of land that encloses the wetland replication area and the isolated wetlands. They do cross the lot lines, but yes, the rain gardens are on individual lots as part of the subdivision. And so that's why there's this weird overlap when you have multiple orders of conditions, they overlap over the property and which takes precedent over the others, right? And so we had an order of conditions for the subdivision and all the rain garden construction that all had to be part of an order. And then you had this additional order that was put over that to deal with the construction, the removal of only certain rain gardens and the replacement of this. So this was really about, this wasn't about making sure this rain garden was built. It was about saying these rain gardens don't have to be built if this is built. That was the purpose of the order. And the bond was, again, specifically about making sure this was planted right, this was monitored right, and it was successful. It wasn't about the success of the rain gardens.
So I mean, if we want to read 22 as the success of the restoration project, yes, I'm satisfied with that, then I can agree with that. But then I wouldn't want to release the certificate of compliance. Because, does that make sense?
Can the bond be released without the certificate of compliance being signed off, or does one have to be done first? The certificate of compliance has to be done.
I personally don't know.
I
I've
don't know.
never released a
To
bond.
me, it's a legal question that I don't know the answer to.
Okay,
I personally am in favor of the bond being released based on my understanding that it is tied just to the replication area. The rain gardens may have issues, but if the rain gardens are tied into certificate of compliance and completion and the certificate of completion, the bond release is tied into certificate of completion being satisfied completely, and that's the way it's phrased by your counsel or whoever came up with the bond release, then I think that and Hannah doesn't feel comfortable with that. She's our rep to say that certificate of completion is been met, then all the conditions, then order of conditions, then I would agree that we should not release it at this point in time. If it's just for the replication area
they are separated legally and can't be tied together or aren't tied together, and we're not reading that properly, then we need to have somebody say that knows it, and I don't.
If you read the condition 22, it's pretty clear it has nothing to do with the rain gardens. It
I
has,
disagree.
so, I mean, you disagree? Okay.
You gotta take 22 in respect to the whole letter. It's one element.
Okay, I mean, again, I have to say that the rain gardens are part of an other order of conditions that has continuing conditions with an operation and maintenance plan that requires the maintenance and upkeep of all the rain gardens. That order is in existence, it's recorded as part of the home association and the operation, and the applicant has been submitting the reports, that you do have those reports there, and I will say there are items that are gonna be implemented in the next quarter to follow up on items that we noted in those reports. And so
Okay,
those
you're
are
saying
being,
that's a different order of conditions than the order of conditions that you think applies to the bond and the replication area. They're two different orders of conditions, but we're seeing item number 22, which I'm not looking at on the screen or anything at this moment, but if that order of conditions isn't stated as order of conditions number A, B, C, and the other order of conditions you're referring to that you think applies to all the rain gardens and so forth, which may have issues that are going to be resolved, but aren't satisfied to Hannah's satisfaction yet, and even yours maybe. If that's a different order of conditions, B, C, D, or something like that, then fine. But if it's not clearly stated in the bond release which order of conditions are referring to, then that's a problem, I think, potentially.
So I think what I should maybe do is talk to town council, and if they feel like that a bond can be released based on what this says without giving a certificate of compliance, I feel comfortable with that. If it can't be, I don't feel comfortable with that because I'll have to go back and check, but I did a lot of Candlelight Lane stuff early on, and if the dumping happened in October and I gave out a COC in September because it was clean at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so in you're walking through, all the sites that you've seen and or marked. Are every rain garden that had to be put in, except the ones that were excluded because we put the replication area in to replace those ones that weren't, has been put in, correct? So I thought Ann said a couple were not put in, but there may have been.
They've
No, it
definitely
wouldn't
been
been
put
after
in.
the replication.
they were all originally put in, yes.
And we counted plants
I
and
mean,
stuff.
and some of the rain gardens that were replaced were actually put in, but then they were removed.
Okay, so
So that was.
all the ones that needed to be put in with the replication area to cover the ones that were pulled out and so forth, or were never done, have been put in. It's just a matter of the maintenance of them, correct?
Correct.
I would
That
agree.
if there are violations, they're either previously dumping or they're currently dumping or whatever, but it's not that they're designed and not functioning properly or improperly designed and not functioning properly. It's that they're either being dumped in and abused by people that are, that are been notified or not, and that may or may not, I mean, that's in the order of conditions that they have to maintain as part of the ONM eventually, and the homeowner association eventually, but for right now it's Fabric because they're the LLC owner. So unless somebody else on the commission has an opinion on this, I know that like, it'd be nice to release this, but we also want to be sure that we are clear on what it is we're releasing, and it does not sound like we want to approve the order of conditions based on our administrator's recommendations. So if the order of conditions shouldn't be approved tonight, and legally that means the bond shouldn't be released, then that's where we should be at. But I'm not sure enough to know whether that one can be done without the other to have a lawyer. So I don't have a lawyer in the room. I don't know what else to say. What's the commission's thought on this?
You want to speak first in order?
No.
My personal opinion is if we're having trouble getting, I see this document as all inclusive. We're not gonna pick pieces and say this applies and that doesn't here and there. It's, the language is the beginning of construction as a whole. The title in the document is creation of wetland in lieu of 9 rain gardens. So it didn't say in lieu of all rain gardens, just 9. So it's talking about it as a whole. If we're having trouble maintaining rain gardens while we have the bond, releasing the bond isn't going to help the situation. I mean, it's supposed to be 3 years of clear, problem-free monitoring.
Of the replication area.
of the replication area.
That I agree with. I'm
That-
not sure that there was 3 years of the rain gardens.
This doesn't have anything, I don't think this has anything to do with these individual rain gardens or the maintenance thereof. It was about the replicate, it was about the creation and the survivability of the replication area connecting the two levels in lieu of the 9 rain gardens. That's where rain, that's the only place rain gardens comes into this, is it's in lieu of those rain gardens that were not constructed or were removed after being constructed. It was just about the replication area.
It's called the restoration project. Is the word used here.
Correct. Not maintenance of existing rain gardens. That's not in it.
Well, so you're thinking, that this restoration refers to the restoration area, and replication area, not.
Correct.
Yeah. Ariane, do you have any input before we move this along?
We've been too long.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
So we either approve the bond or defer to getting some additional information / input, probably meaning town council, as Hannah suggested. What is the pleasure of the commission? I don't think there's
I
anything.
support the latter.
Can we get an opinion from the town council? Town council? Yeah, let's get their opinion and clear it up once and for all.
And that's fine. I understand that being an issue that get it's a weird situation.
I appreciate your reporting and the detail and the pictures and so forth. I looked at the report, I was like, well, this is a successful project, thank goodness. And I kind of vaguely, 3 years ago, remember walking the site when it was first done. And
Oh, yeah. No, it was great.
It was like, this looked promising then. It was like, it's great to see this.
Yeah.
So it's good with all the difficulties we've had with this overall Lakeview Estates project and some of the stuff that we had to go through, rain gardens and other things. It's nice to see that, that there's been some success. So building on that, I'll, accept. Well, I guess we don't have to make a motion per se. We have a request, but it's not on the. I guess it's other business, really.
It's other business. I can add as other business that I get an answer by
Yeah.
next meeting.
So, right, so I'm gonna recommend that we ask town council to talk to Hannah about the wording to make sure we are releasing the bond just for the replication areas, not tied to the rain gardens in any way that we don't understand. And if that's the case, then we can have Mark appear or just send in a note requesting it again. You don't have to appear again, Mark, if it's town council's agreement.
And approve the CUC on the replication area.
Right.
Oh, if,
The order.
Not just release the bond.
Right. We would release the bond for the replication area and the order of conditions for the replication area if it is that specific. If it is,
Correct.
the order of condition is for the entire site, even if there's multiple layers of order of conditions, of Mark's saying, perhaps there's another one, in another part of the site or something like that for other rain gardens or other roads and things like that. If those are not tied into it, and this can be segregated in that way, then we have a plan to move forward on this one part, this one bond, this one order of conditions. If it's muddled somewhat more, we'd have to get clarification with the attorney and at town council, and I think they'll provide that. Hannah, I think, knows what we need to get clarified in order to make an informed, accurate decision at the next meeting. I'll accept a motion to move this to the next meeting and make it a point of actual hearing item rather than just other business. Just so that we can get it on the agenda and make sure it's moved forward for the meeting on the.
Because it's not a hearing, we're not voting.
Right, we don't need to move that. I think that's true, actually. It's not,
Yeah,
that's
it's
not
not a
true.
hearing.
We don't. So that's my plan. If there's anybody else that wants to do anything else, let me know. Then be done with the meeting. Okay. Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a good night. And I will relay your concerns about the rain garden maintenance to the team. They are aware of it already, but I will reiterate what you've expressed this evening. And I totally understand your concerns and I'll reiterate them to them so that make sure that we kind of, we move ahead as fast as we can.
I'm just curious, are the breaches only 1 or 2 neighbors, or is it the group?
There was just several, I think it was 3, I think in the loop, I think at most. And there was one that was the big one, and then there was the one, he had a fence, and so he just dumped it on the other side of the fence, so you couldn't see it from his yard. And so it was kind of hidden. Everybody else is a little more obvious because they don't really have fences in their yards, so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
we have, I'm pretty sure this is Alan from Fox Run Road that has stayed on here this whole time. I'm not sure about the other 2 people though,
Okay. Well,
just so you know.
so we have. Yeah. So this one doesn't go on. But let's knock off the other 2 things if we can real quick here, or 3 things if we can.
Seven Doom, yeah, we'll try. Seven Demel.
Do you handle?
Hamel, thank you. What is that?
I didn't put it in my info prep.
Remember seeing it, maybe I missed it.
I'm just messing.
Yeah.
I might have not, I don't know. The same thing, flooding, trees falling, a tree fell, not yesterday's storm, but the previous storm, and it's on town property. I went out there with Michael Burr, the tree warden. He agreed for safety reasons that even though it's already fallen, it's still like suspended right above a trail. So he's
Oh,
planning.
over the trail. Okay,
Yeah, he's planning to just cut it in chunks to lay it flat, not to take it out or anything. So that's all that's
Your
happening.
note says a site visit was done with me and tree warden Mike Byrne.
Yes. That is correct.
Yeah, I kind
I
of
said
remember,
that.
once you said trail, okay, I was thinking it was somebody's property, like the person's house property.
It was, someone had called because it's behind her property, but it's the common thing that's happening all over Bellingham.
So which trail is this, the Snap Trail or? Where's that going?
No, it's a trail that is not,
It's not a recognized maintained town trail.
hopefully with the open space plan, it will be.
Okay, okay,
Yep, that's it with that. I just wanted to keep you informed.
okay, that's fine, thanks. 236 Blackstone Street, order of conditions amendment. They had a shed in the back of this site as a septic replacement. I've been over there several times. And since the work has been done, for the septic, this is the one they did the septic before they got permission officially, and then they didn't file it and so forth, the paperwork. We went through all that with the engineer, Paul, DeSimone. And anyway, so the septic field is done. They put the grass seed on, nothing's gonna grow in the winter. They've got the erosion control still around the perimeter. The shed that was shown to the back side, outside of the 25-foot just there, boundary. They had originally, Paul had thought this person wanted to remove it. The current owner who I talked to when I went out there about a month ago asked that it be allowed to be kept. He's decided he really wants to use it. It's not sitting inside the 25-foot, it's sitting on existing grass in his yard, right behind the pool area that he wants to make, or near the pool area he wants to make. It's like, it's no impact to sitting on top of the ground, it's not a foundation or anything. I think we should just let them go ahead and keep it there rather than making him move it, because it was put in, and the phrasing wasn't even real clear by Paul in the original notice of intent. I think it was, and move shed. I don't know if he said remove, but move shed or something like
Yeah.
that. So I having seen it, it's outside the 25-foot. He was very understanding of we're needing to remove still some brush that was dumped into the wetlands. I pointed out, and we discussed briefly how it might do that without damaging the lawn or other negative impact. And he seemed real amenable to getting things cleaned up.
Where's this?
Blackstone Street, 236 Blackstone.
That's not on here.
Yeah. it's-
Oh,
see,
okay.
amendment, yeah. So basically, the amendment portion of the order of conditions would be that he'd be allowed to keep the shed. He still needs to keep the erosion control up because the grass hasn't grown in, not that it's a steep slope, but just until spring. It's a row of hay bale, a straw wattle, whatever, around the back of the cleared area. And
So they agreed to remove the shed, now they don't want to remove the shed.
Paul had asked to remove the shed. I don't think he thoroughly discussed it with the property owner. They didn't know if they were moving into the area and weren't familiar with whatever. But since it's not inside the 25, it was inside the 25, but I just haven't moved it outside the 25 if you want to keep the shed. It's a nice shed. It's, not impacting anything. I have pictures, but I take forever to put them up on here, so I won't bother right now. It's one of those little 8x8 wooden sheds, or 10x10 maybe. Yeah, I think that's the extent of the order of condition amendment.
Yeah.
Hannah's gonna make sure that she's notified when they pull the remaining brush out. Maybe it'll difficult, this is frozen into the ground a little bit of stuff, but he'll pull the Christmas tree that somebody dumped or previous bushes and stuff in the wetlands out. It's on the edge, and then
So the shed is in the 25 foot?
just outside of the 25 foot. Outside of the 25 foot, so on the right side of it, the correct side. of it.
Between 25 and 50.
Correct. Yeah. And it's on existing grass in the yard. I mean, it's not like it's in a sensitive area. So I feel, why not let him keep it? It was Paul's mistake. Not that he hasn't made a few on this project like that. But anyway, not to go on with that. What's the feeling of the board?
I agree to let them keep it.
Agreed, sure.
Okay, Ariane, do you have any issue?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Are you okay with leaving the shed at 236 Blackstone Street that's outside of the 25 foot?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so
Okay.
just let one know that's, okay, hunting regulations,
Can we,
Another
another time?
okay.
We push that off.
She was just gonna give us an update that she is still, you still have to talk to. You haven't gotten feedback from town council, but the wording for hunting. Okay, I
That's
think,
definitely dropped off my radar.
okay, yeah, so that's something we don't really want to see, we're just gonna keep aware that we have discussed it and move right along. But we will get some additional assistance for figuring out how we're gonna deal with that. All right, Bellingham Shores Extension order conditions.
I believe that is what, back early in December, I had just like brought up and you said, I think we need a vote on it. I brought it up in a recap that they requested it, and then I sent out a dot loop, and then you're like, don't sign it yet, because we need to vote on it, and I didn't know that that was that. Procedure, but I put on our portal their
Right.
request.
All right, my only question was why they want 3 years, they said the work's going along fine and so forth, whether 3 years is pretty long or extension of order of conditions if it's the project is nearing final, complete. It's just, there's something about the phrasing of final septic or final drainage adjustments or something like that. It may sound like the project is almost done. at this
Oh,
point.
this might be, Steven, is this you?
Steve,
Yeah,
are you-
I'm here. I'm here. I'm
Oh,
not,
okay.
sorry, I'm not in person. I didn't know you guys had gone back to in-person
Hybrid,
meetings
yeah.
otherwise.
We're okay
Yep.
with you being there, that's fine. So can you mention, you're at the Bellingham Shores extension request for order of conditions extension, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I don't have right in front of me, from the letter we saw in the portal, exactly how the wording was, but it was something along the lines near the end of it, so that we can make final adjustments to drainage something. How far along into the project? Is it completed, nearly completed? What's the project status?
No, not, it's made substantial progress and everyone I think is impressed with the progress and how things are going. But when it comes to completion and actual occupancy, we're not quite 50%. There's 103 total lots, and we have not reached 50 lots being occupied, although there are over 50 built, but the closings and occupation of those houses by owners has not occurred. So, we're moving into the latter half of the building phases. But
So less than 50,
so
just
we
around
requested the 3 years to give us the ability, economic conditions arise that cause a slowdown in sales. And the pond, there's 2 stormwater basins. Really, that's the only work other than the replication area that's in the buffer zone, and it's only in the outer 50. The ability to maintain those basins, through the life of the project, et cetera, is the reason for the request for the 3 years for such a large project.
Good with 3. Anybody else have any other questions about this? Or agree? Ariane, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. All right, I don't have any in particular. I know, what is the name of the road that's down by the bus barn that's backs up to that side of the property? We had some neighbors on there that we were having an issue with at one point in time. I wonder if that.
Yeah, Douglas Drive.
Yeah, Douglas, yeah.
Yeah,
Those
so we-
butters and the properties and the tree cutting and stuff like that, all been wrapped up, resolved? That was a long time ago that I remember.
Yep, correct. We were in front of you to try to work an arrangement out. We ended up just removing the trees,
They were
cutting
concerned
the
about
trees that
falling
were
on the
threatening
property
the
that were on
properties.
there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right, Andy, if no other questions, thoughts on it, I do think we need a motion to get this, approve the order of extension. I'll accept a motion to approve the Bellingham Shores extension order of conditions request for 3 years, a 3-year period from tonight's date. I'll accept the motion. So moved. Neil?
Second.
Noel, second. And discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Ariane, aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, unanimous. So yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for hanging in there. Appreciate it. Have a good night. Okay, don't put Park on to the last if there's anything else.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. All right, so Fox Run Road, we have received in the portal some pictures and some historical information, anecdotal information. I don't know. Should read my notes here. Oh, there's the letter issues from 2014, 2014 rather. It's a not super straightforward issue with the residents on Fox Run Road in particular. Number 36.
This is 36.
36.
There's one other one that's been like
Somewhat
listed.
impacted, but less involved. Right?
Yeah.
And so that resident is requesting that we try to get, as we said to Hannah, and try to see if they can reactivate some activity on it. There was basically some development down to Fox Run Road, then Bellingham Estates next door to it by Shaper's old nursery on there did work, and then uphill gradient drainage situation changed back in 2013, 2014, whatever. There was some talk about putting in a drainage swale, but when Cliff and Ann were on the commission, they reviewed that at that time and around that time and mentioned that to cut this 800 some odd foot long swale in, that's 20 feet wide or whatever, to alleviate some of the runoff that was going back into the back of these people's yards, and in particular 36 Fox Run would, we're about taking a lot of trees out, which are stabilizing and good. And we had hoped that the situation wouldn't require that. And then there was something else in the letter, if I remember, that a shorter version of that, however, that wouldn't impact quite as much of a distance, that may be able to affect just, alleviate just those two properties, could potentially be done according to, who would the letter from? Do you have a portal item?
Yeah, I can pull it up.
Yeah, so anyway, somebody else was reviewing this, I want to say the DPW, but somebody else that was reviewing this project in conjunction with Concom for the applicant had said that they thought that it could be done and on a shorter basis, a more limited scope of the drainage swale of some sort to help alleviate this drainage situation. There used to be farms, fields and so forth back down in that area back in the day, and when the developer put in Fox Run, there was some issues. I remember that years ago.
Something here from professional services.
Corporation, yeah. To
Yeah,
Denver.
there was a
Yeah.
lot. There was a ton of discussions and engineering and stuff along that south side of the Bellingham Estates
Yeah.
property with berms winding their way through the woods and many, many things. Is this further down towards Center Street, or is this more, is this up in the middle?
It's right in the middle.
Right in the middle, okay, because we did stuff down further with a drainage basin, the last house and just north of there, we did some work down there, so there was a lot of stuff around
Yeah, I
there.
kind of remember that.
There was a ton of stuff around
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see where it says 36. So I guess it just gets a little bit more complicated because all this green is our property.
Yep.
And it's impacting it now.
And if Arnold's Brook going down through that area too, which
there.
is not far off of,
Oh, that is, yeah.
well, not far off of 36. It's 1/60. It looks like it runs down through actually. It's a drainage easement probably. On the far right there.
Yeah, they have a little bridge over it.
Yeah, so. The only current person that's been contacting us is 36, correct?
Yeah.
And what have they specifically requested? Or what did they specifically ask you since they reached out to you?
That it be brought up and that we start talking about some solutions for the amount of flooding that's happening on these properties.
Actually, scroll over to the right if you would. I wouldn't. Oh, it's 56. I thought that was a 36. I couldn't see when it was zoomed out. Okay, so yeah, I would think 56 would be more impacted, but 36 is feeling it more. Which is behind somebody else's house, actually, not. Oh, yeah, okay, I think.
Correct.
What does the flood zone say?
Oh, it's not flood zone.
Yeah, no, I think this is all upland. I mean,
It is all upland. It's all sheet flow.
Yeah, so it might be coming from the development of Bellingham Estates, which is the north side of this, if I remember right. And the properties right in that area that Hannah's circling there.
So any solution would involve those private properties.
I think that was recognized to be an issue too. You'd have to get a sign off if you're gonna be putting drainage swale into divert water flow, sheet flow to a more acceptable area. First thing is you have to decide if it would work and where would it be and how big a drainage swale and how long and where would it go to, you know, and make a problem for another neighbor just because you moved it, the water.
Right, if you move it down and dump it into the green area, then is it gonna leak out onto the people and, you know, the 43, yeah, whatever.
So, and I don't remember from that review that was done in 2014, because I was reading it, I wasn't looking at a map trying to compare and understand it. Where the large drainage swale was, whether it was across the whole bottom of the screen area, off to between the property lines and so forth, but that sketch may help someone there too.
32, 36. Did I already skip one? No. There's another. Sorry if this makes your eyes go crazy. I know there's another drawing. Oh, there it is. That is which property? This is, so these are the,
All the 13 Whitehall Way,
oh, and down here it's very light, but this is,
Auction Road, that's 36, maybe. 36 is the right maybe.
oh yeah, 36,
32 and
and this is
36.
32, right.
So if that yellow area is proposed as a drainage swale and runoff is going to be gathered and diverted, my question would be, where is it going to? And is it going to cause a problem to people?
We're just moving it down the street.
Right. So, we can certainly revisit this. I mean, if it is a drainage issue and there's town conservation land decided, I thought that back during a meeting where this came up years and years ago, and my memory is not good about it, that part of the issue was, it was the developer for either Fox Run Road originally, or perhaps Bellingham Estates, or a combination of the two that created this problem, and it wasn't a conservation issue because it was developer causing, an issue to another. They're negatively impacting the homeowners for sure. There was a negative impact, and maybe it was made worse after the Bellingham Estates, I think, were put in. So I think one of the reasons we didn't act on it any further than the vague recollection of that meeting years ago was because of that, and it was either not clear. I don't remember now. My memory is fuzzy about that. Do you remember anything?
It's not a wetland issue.
Right.
This is
So-
our property though, right here.
Yeah, but
Right, but not abutting 36.
Correct.
right. So if
I
if it
looked
is
at the way water.
if it is
flows
nothing
there,
more than
so-
verifying that
But it's coming this way.
Right.
Towards our property, not from our property.
if it flows from 36 to
Oh.
40 to 44
I
in
see
that
what you're
direction already, then and into the conservation land, but then has an issue with the conservation land causing problems to the properties just immediately to the south of that on Fox Run Road, then that's one issue. If it's strictly between two sets of developments moved back up to each other, and the grading and the topography and the drainage wasn't done properly by one developer or the other or both, I'm not sure what else we can do. I mean, that is frankly just legally maybe not in our jurisdiction to do anything.
Not in our jurisdiction.
So we want to be clear on whether we have any say, and if we don't, we need to make that clear to the property owners in the area there, and they can address it to other people. I don't know whether it's legal only or whether they have some other avenues to pursue. I won't even suggest that. I'm not qualified.
In
but-
historic aerials, it looks like there was a stream that went that way. It also, it's a pretty wild ride.
Wait, what? What does that mean?
Oh, the area?
There's like something happened in 1981. I don't know what, but
Do you want to show
Doesn't
your
look good.
screen? Now I'm intrigued. Yeah. I'll stop
Um,
there.
I can try.
Okay, so you basically want me to see
Well, we need to
where
determine,
we have responsibility,
well,
if any.
if it can be determined by either anecdotal or photographs or something that water is coming from the conservation land into any of the neighbors.
Yeah.
A sheet flow or a stream or something like that, that's negative impact, and absolutely we need to know. If it's determined that it's coming from the back of the properties that are abutting and number 36 resident, whether they're online or not, could perhaps share that information with you. Is coming from the back of these people's properties were developed and
Yeah.
coming out to hit their property negatively, then that's, and it's not wetlands resource area, we don't have any jurisdiction, I don't think. And
Okay.
we'll just have to let them know that, if they make it clear somehow or otherwise, from what I saw, it wasn't clear to me, and again, I haven't read all that detail, I glanced through it.
Yeah,
But. Yeah,
okay.
2014 sounds about right, that's about how many years.
This space, there's 126 right there. Ariane, can you point out what we're looking at? For us old guys?
What's your definition of
Um,
a wild ride?
So you can see like White Hallway right here. And that's our property. I don't really know where we are relative to,
Right where it says copyrighted material on the line, that looks like Fox Run Road.
Does it everywhere?
Well, yeah,
This
not
one?
that one, that one,
Down,
down one, the next one,
down.
there,
no, down,
a little more.
that's
yeah.
Fox Run.
Yep.
oh,
So the
okay.
area you're talking about where it says historical aerials, that
To the left.
diagonal one,
To the left,
Our
no, too
property.
far to the left.
Basically.
in the middle there.
Yep.
Left.
Up a little bit, up.
Left,
just-
left,
and even up
right
right
there. That's the area in question right there.
There and slightly to the right, yeah.
So this is 2021, 1938, it's farmland. Just gonna actually zoom out a little bit.
So you see Fox
We
Run
have our
Road.
pond over here.
Nothing
We have
else.
this little path right here.
It's all fun.
We have this right here.
There's actually, up in there, there's the coolest wetland on the side of a hill. There's a wet meadow, there's a groundwater breakout. And there's a wetland that emerges and goes down the hill. It's very cool,
Right in this area?
right in, yeah,
Like green
it's part of our open space. Wetland, wet meadow on the side of a hill,
I don't remember when,
no, real weird.
Bellingham
We
was
spent a
built, but
lot.
do you remember seeing that in the notes or the historical?
Oh,
It wasn't 2014, was it?
No, they were already,
Can you go like to 2006 area?
that development's 20 years old.
yeah, I think 2004.
Okay,
That
try,
was my first,
yeah,
that
try-
was my first big,
try 2001.
that was
The
my first.
memories.
Just trying to see when that loop goes away.
Memories.
No, that's still there.
It's a very cool site, there's some really cool.
Oh, no, okay, 2001, it wasn't there. So
We have a really nice trail system in there too.
try
Looks like we have a
2003.
pond right there.
Huh? Is that a pond?
Could be trees though.
Yeah, do 2003. I just want to see when the project, there you go. Okay, so somewhere between 2001, 2003. Nope. I had to wait for it to fill in. Okay.
Oh, actually,
Some of these like don't work. They're just there.
High Ridge was the
Oh,
first.
oh, we got it. It's being developed.
Okay, 2005 was being developed. You can see how the Bellingham Estates is going in 2005. So it's been quite a few years. Okay, so I
Be
guess
close.
we will ask, and Hannah can let the resident 36, if they're not online with us, know that we are going to take a look, but I'm not optimistic that we have a lot of jurisdiction in this matter, and we have to operate in legal, so if we don't have any jurisdiction, we'll let them know that. If it appears we have some and we can review some options, we'll do that. But first step is to find out exactly what the impact is between these two sets of developments, the Bellingham Estates and the Fox Run Road.
And that particular area wasn't jurisdictional in the first place.
Yeah. It's not
Is this
jurisdictional.
the gas easement right here? I'm trying to move my mouse over it.
Yeah, I see where you're moving, and I just don't know if that's a gas easement.
We don't know.
Don't know.
I mean, he talks about it. They talk about it in the letters and stuff, so it makes
could be.
sense.
Does look like a big clear, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, all right, so that's informational for this point in time. When we have more information, we'll bring it back up again and move on it if we can or need to. So we have two sidewalks, this is a reminder scheduled for the 20th, brief ones briefly, I hope. And so I'll see people on the 20th at Maple Street. You don't have to come, you really don't. You can see them other times, if it's both small and it's up to you. Given your distance away and the fact that they're so small and so, and it's like you're walking the shops, not shops, the warehouse at the north end of town again, we had an opportunity to do that, because I know you haven't seen that site yet.
Hmm.
So that would be one, but, another couple of weeks, you may not want to try to track something downhill in the condition.
Yeah,
Because
maybe
those-
not.
Some of those are very steep sandy hills, and taking a tumble wouldn't be good. But no, we don't have any plan for that anyway.
Let's
Okay.
end the meeting.
That's definitely,
Let's end it.
okay, that's it for our meeting. I will accept, I don't know if somebody has any other new business or anything else they want to bring up. All right, so our next meeting is the fourth, I'm sorry, the 20.
24th, yeah.
Thank you. We have a few items on the agenda. Here's one, we'll see if something else comes up. And I'll accept the motion to close the meeting.
Wait.
Adjourn the meeting.
Sorry, I do have
Ariane,
one more
beat everybody
thing.
on that one, okay. Second,
My discussion, I think
Oh.
in the last meeting, or maybe the meeting before that, you said that we had all gotten letters, but then,
yours is right here. How do you want to get it?
when I am virus free, I guess,
When you what?
Virus
when I'm
free.
virus free.
Well, you can either swing by and pick it up, or if we really want to, we can spend the 52 cents or whatever and 63 cents and stick in another envelope and send it to you. Your choice. Legal.
Just leave
notice.
it with, Hannah.
Hannah, okay. I'll do that. One other point of information, I just got an email today from Luke Petrosi, and I will just say that it was a confirmation from the DEP person,
Thomas.
Thomas, the last name though.
I always see it as Rubius, but I don't think it is.
Tom Rubel, the person from the DEP that walked Prospect Street site, and it confirms Lou, who had asked that, and we got copied on this, that he has all the information he needs, and he hopes to make a decision by this month, in this month, within the month, I guess is the word. So just, that is still being decided by the DEP at this point in time. We don't know anything about any of the legal aspects that are being reviewed and by, court or anything, but this point of information, because I'd let it all know in the open meeting, because this point of information came forward. All right, thank you. So we didn't formally vote close it. We got a first and a second. Ariane was first on closing, adjourning the meeting, I believe, right, Ariane?
Yeah.
Not sure why we're having another discussion on
Yeah, we're
on the
second.
table as we close the meeting.
Yeah, I know. And second was Noel, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Ariane.
Hang in there. And nay.
Have a good night.
Steve with nay.